somebody to come and save you from the cold of night. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? Quiet like the ocean, with the rumble running deep. This is how I see you, when you hide your feels from me. Why you heavy-hearted? Cut the silence, talk to me. Release your mind, get what you need. Easily, we've been falling in disbelief. I think I'm ready for another try, but this feels like the last time. So why did you say goodbye? Why did you say goodbye?
Deep minds, we were forced to be alone. Unknowns and nowhere is the same. And even when it seems like there's no way out, we'll grow a little closer. Water, we flow. All of us together, we're good, we flow. Nothing is the same, but I won't hold back. I won't hold back. I won't hold back. 'Cause we're better together, better as one. Better together, better as one. We're better together, better as one. Better together, better as one. Better together,
don't have forever. Baby, I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you whenever you need me. Whenever you need me. But you've been holding back. Maybe you're just not ready. Baby, do you feel the same? Or do you feel the pressure? I promise I can take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too.
Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, ain't nothing stopping us now. Keep running, we coming, we got nothing stopping us now.
everyone! In PUBG Mobile version 2.2, we'll officially release a new Battle Royale map, Nusa. Nusa is a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer tropical island. The island is bright and sunny and has beautiful beaches, rolling hills, and dense vegetation. In addition to the natural scenery, it also has many areas that have a unique style and combat characteristics. Without further ado, let's take a closer look now. As a whole, being a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer map, Nusa is the smallest map PUBG Mobile has released to date. It also has the most compact structure among all the Battle Royale maps. We can make some comparisons by looking at the data. Erangel is 8 kilometers by 8 kilometers in size, and 100 players participate in each match. This means there is an average of 1.56 players per square kilometer. In Nusa, an average of 32 players fight in a 1 square kilometer area. Conflicts are intense, and players will start shooting right after landing. In the southern part of the map is a heart-shaped island. 2 paths connect this island with the gorgeous Pink Beach. The Ferris wheel and hot air balloon are both located on Pink Beach, which highlight the romantic atmosphere of the beach. But keep in mind that the terrain of Pink Beach is rather open and has little cover within a certain area. If players want to move around Pink Beach, they can do so with the help of smoke grenades to obscure enemies' vision, or push the beach balls on the beach and use them as moving cover. But if you do so, remember to keep an eye on their durability. In short, Pink Beach is beautiful and romantic, but you must take care if you plan to spend some time there. Bulan Bay is located in the northwest part of the island, and the coast is quite low there. The cliffs on both sides have a large height difference, and players can move between them with a zip line, utilizing the advantages of high ground. Players at the top can observe where enemies are moving in the bay. Meanwhile, players in the bay need to move around covertly. There is also a cavern connected to the sea in the northern part of Bulan Bay. Players can jump there directly. The cavern extends in all directions, and players can explore this area. In addition to the natural scenery, Nusa also has many urban areas, of which the largest is Telepak Town, which is located in the southeastern part of the map. Buildings are scattered everywhere in the urban area, and close-range street fights can break out at any time. There are premium apartment buildings in Telepak Town. These buildings have elevators that can be used, which adds another dynamic to searching, attacking, and defending in the building. For example, players can set up an ambush in the elevator. By getting in and not selecting a floor, they can then give enemies a surprise when they enter to use the elevator. The rooftops of buildings in Telepak Town are also connected by zip lines, which gives players more flexibility in urban battles. If the zip line is destroyed, it can be repaired with a tactical crossbow. I believe Telepak Town will give players a unique 3D alley combat experience. If you like fast-paced battles and enjoy thrilling shootouts right after landing, you can land at the Science Center at the heart of the map. The design of the modern orbital satellite roof feels really high-tech. The Science Center has 3 floors. Each floor is spacious and contains lots of supplies, which attracts many players to loot this area. As you can imagine, very intense battles will break out between these floors. At the top of the Science Center is a rooftop with a multi-layer structure. Players can look far into the distance from here for a great visual advantage. However, they'll also be exposed as there's nowhere to hide. If you want to land directly on the rooftop, you must check if there are enemies nearby to ensure your own safety. In short, if you're confident in your close-range shooting skills, you're welcome to land at the Science Center. Like the Science Center, Flame Village is also located at the center of the map. The terrain is quite low there, and the village is surrounded by mountain slopes. There are many huts in the village, and there are many places where you can stand on the beams of the huts. Players can climb or jump onto the beams to ambush other players. But there's one thing you mustn't forget. A tactical crossbow used with firebolts can set the huts on fire. This will expose the players hiding in them. Of course, firebolts will burn and deal damage to enemies when they are hit. In addition to huts, there are also brick buildings that cannot be set on fire in Flame Village. They occupy a large area. contain plenty of supplies, and are high conflict areas. If you're confident in your shooting skills, you can choose to land at Flame Village or Science Center at the heart of the map. It'll also be convenient for moving to areas along the edge. Other than the previously mentioned areas, this island also has winding and rugged mountain paths, a shipyard where the whistle roars, a regal resort with wide and open terrain, Sunset Street, which is planted with mini banana trees, Crystal Bay, which has secret rooms, and more. These are all gorgeous locales that can bring players different gaming experiences. After hearing the above introduction, I'm sure players already understand what makes Nusa so uniquely fun. Lots of supplies for fast looting. The verticality of the terrain increases the strategic depth of battles. And the 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer size makes firefights inevitable. What are you waiting for? Gather your friends and enjoy a rowdy vacation on Nusa. For more details, don't forget to follow the official PUBG mobile community. See you next time!
Hey there, fellow PUBG mobile players! Along with the version 2.2 update, we have made a series of improvements on the game's basic controls. Let's take a look at the improvements. First, improvements to the controls and display. We have increased the display priority of the wheel when the throwing wheel is activated. Now it'll be easier for players to select the items they wish to throw. In this update, a countdown will be displayed whenever the play zone is going to shrink. This way, it will be made more aware of the next play zone, and players can plan their routes more effectively. We've improved the feedback effect of marked items. Whenever you tap and hold to mark an item successfully, the feedback will be more obvious. When the player is aiming down sights, the markings within the scope have been optimized, so the sight is less obscured. When a player jumps, after respawning or deploying an emergency pickup, it's now possible to mark the battleground with light columns. After a team wins, the buttons for MVP likes and summon statue will be combined. Now players can send a like automatically whenever they summon a statue. On the results screen, we have added teammate numbers, so now players can use the number to identify each other and give likes to their favorite teammates. To make spectating more convenient for players, we have tweaked the button size on the spectating screen. This reduces the chance of tapping the button by mistake. I'm sure firearm balancing is a concerning issue for many players. In this update, we have significantly improved the burst shot of both the SKS and Mini 14 by greatly improving their handling. This will increase their stability fired consecutively and increase the damage dealt to enemies. Perhaps these two firearms will become your weapon of choice after the enhancements. For airdrop weapons, we have made some adjustments to the controls and damage dealt to better balance the airdrop weapons. In the new version, there are lots of new features worth checking out. When you acquire a firearm finish of your liking, you'll definitely want to admire it from time to time. In this update, we've added a firearm inspection feature. Players can now use this to admire their favorite firearm. During combat, players can tap the emote to enter first-person perspective to inspect the current active weapon. A friendly reminder, never inspect your firearm during combat, or you might overlook the enemies before you. Do keep in mind that this feature is currently only available for certain firearms, but it will be gradually rolled out to other firearms in later versions. The recommended layout feature is one of the many new features. When players customize the controls, it's now easier to apply a custom layout recommended by the system with one tap. We've also added a trunk system. Players can now make exchanges while riding vehicles. Use this feature to exchange supplies with teammates. But remember, the size of the trunk depends on the vehicle type. The visual presentation of profile cards have been improved. Players can now set their gender on their profile cards. On the results screen, we have streamlined the results process and improved on the layout, as well as the MVP results emote. On the new results screen, assists will be included in the stats. In future matches, you can try cooperating with your teammates. Even if you don't make the final strike, assists will help boost your results. We have added stationary targets to the training grounds. After firing, the damage dealt and bullet trajectory will be displayed. This helps to more closely recreate situations that players may face in matches. To make it easier for players to practice shooting, the most recently used firearms configuration will be applied by default when entering the training grounds the next time. These are the major improvements for the basic experience in version 2.2. If you want to learn more about this update's content, don't forget to follow the official PUBG mobile community. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. See you next time.
That's the challenge. A little bit greater HP for Victor. The boosters up.
Just separation could be the reason why they don't close out this game. Swaying on the top.
I give it, look in my eyes.
His lying axe looking to swing on through on the side of it.
I got a lot on the line. Fish with a different approach. Only spend time in the boat.
Close together and grouped up. A good nade might find all they're looking for. Legacy, leg.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. All of our PUBG Mobileans has a very difficult word to say as we have another day here at Phase 3. That's the exact reaction I was expecting out of Maxman here to my left-hand side. We are back here for another day. This is our, well, technically 5th day in our 3rd phase, but it's our penultimate day here in our league phase overall when it comes to this season of PMPL. I'm just Captain, your host. We got Maxman to my side. We got Kalaris on the end looking fantastic and ready to go for all the action to come up today. Kalaris, your CCT team. MADBULLS, they showed up extremely well yesterday. You got to be like a little proud parent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, considering, yes, the wins are fantastic, but even in the 8th place they still got 8 eliminations. I can't actually fathom how a team's supposed to have a day quite like that, but it feels like it was all building up to it, considering how they were playing in the past days, the past phases, etc. Right now, they're looking absolutely phenomenal.
You know, he's also looking phenomenal, the man to your left-hand side. Maxman, I almost said Kalaris again, which would make no sense. Or Kalaris Man, which would be a weird, awkward hybrid of you two, which gets predictions right half the time, I guess. Max, we had a great day yesterday. We really got to see some teams step out ahead of the pack here. How are you feeling about going into this day?
Yeah, I'm feeling really good about what we've been able to see. Like you just mentioned, MADBULLS again. I want to see a few teams potentially step up today. MUERTE in particular. That was a 4-point day yesterday. Fell off pretty significantly right before heading into the finals. That's a little bit scary. So hopefully MUERTE can get back in the swing of things if, you know, MADBULLS don't get another 3 wins today. So yeah, we'll see.
Long story short, if yesterday was an Instagram post, Maxman would have liked it. Big shout out here to Monster Energy, our official engineering partner here at PMPL, and also provided us some great entertainment when it comes to Max deciding how he will drink his monster. Remember, he said he does have his device or his dealie, whatever it is that's coming up here at the end of the finals of how he's going to drink his next monster. And maybe if you miss out on it, which you shouldn't, you'll see it over on social media, over on our official channels with the PUBG Mobile Esports, over on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, everywhere you could possibly want to go look. But gentlemen, let's quickly jump into our overall standings so we can get an idea of how Phase 3 has shaped up. And if you missed on yesterday, everyone watching at home, don't be alarmed. The numbers are correct. Yes, MADBULLS are that far ahead of the pack from everyone else.
Well, 233. It's pretty good. It's pretty decent. But I'm just looking at the stats too for MADBULLS, right? Of course, like they're super consistent. Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3. They popped off okay. Like your CCT or Erangel level threat, they're everything okay right now. I just checked also the stats on total eliminations in this phase. Effect on his lonesome has got 51 eliminations in this phase with 4 days of play. Out of those 233 points, 51 elims. Effect is just, I mean, you called it yesterday, I think, Kalaris, like he's a prodigy. Clearly, he's just miles ahead of the competition, and no one's even remotely close to him right now.
No, absolutely. He's looking phenomenal alongside the rest of his team, which, again, yeah, I think that these components brought together look so good, so good. It obviously, Effect is putting up massive numbers, but it also takes the augmenting of everyone around him to be able to push MADBULLS to where they are right now, which is in a solid 1st place.
Yeah, massive 1st place. We can see Navi currently sitting in 2nd with VIRTUS.PRO in 3rd. But the real story, TJ being in 4th. You know, we've been criticizing them so heavily throughout, well, pretty much every day, every week so far, every phase. But they're starting to slowly step up. At least one player in particular with GK first.
Yeah, I mean, GK First is, when looking at the list of the top fraggers of this entire 3rd phase, GK First is actually 2nd with 40 eliminations. So out of all the eliminations coming out from the team, he's put up a really significant amount. I do think, though, yesterday we saw a little bit of Xiao, which Xiao is not a player that we have seen too much pop off in Phase 1 and Phase 2 in particular, but he has been able to rise up a little bit more to the occasion next to GK First. I would like to see more, but it's a step in the right direction.
I mean, there was a moment as well where yesterday, I feel like there's been a little bit of a mentality shift for TJB in that let's just enable GK first. He is a turret. And there was one moment yesterday where he was top damage, which is pretty ridiculous considering TJB wasn't having the easiest of times, even though they've been able to push up a bit more significantly.
Yeah, and we do wonder. Well, I've always said throughout this season, like, where is GK first? He's not rivaling what he was able to do in the past, and he has been able to do it just a little bit more quietly because TJB aren't getting the wins that we would typically see whenever he was able to pop off. But speaking of popping off, MADBULLS, we got to laser focus in on this team because the last 5 matches, the last 5 days, everywhere we've seen this team, they have just been damn good, and they've shown no signs of weaknesses here, Max.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. Looking at their last 5, these are their last 5 matches then. Yeah, okay. I mean, okay, you said it also right, Kalas. There's one game when they went out, they got 8 eliminations still. Like, even if they do not make into the late game, they're like, okay, we're not making it to the late game. We're still going to eliminate 2 entire squads on our lonesome, which is pretty insane. And then the sheer consistency of what they were able to achieve in the last 5 matches is mental. They're about a 20, even above a 20-point average currently with all of this combined. And they're not even easy circles, Kalaris. That's the thing. The circles move away from them, but they just react so well. They know how the lobby is going to respond to those circle shifts. And just like every time you see them in their position, it's the best position in the circle because they just know how to use those rotations so well.
I think they've got the Midas touch. I think they turn everything into gold. It doesn't matter if they're playing central of circle or edge. I think they're proficient and extremely dangerous in both locations. And I can't say that for many teams here in West Europe.
Yeah, and we do kind of wonder, and obviously, Clarence, if you want to bring up this point again, their coach, I can't say his name correctly. I know you can.
Pokemon, yes.
Yeah, and his effect on the team. And to be fair, it's not only like the MADBULLS situation. We saw that happen with Clash Digital Athletics back in PMGC like 2 years ago, if I'm not mistaken, where a coach came in from another battleground who had extensive experience, and it completely changed how the team played and took them to an entirely another level.
Yeah, I mean, realistically speaking, map knowledge goes a long way in this game. And when it comes to being able to send it to certain dips, when it comes to understanding the topography of some of these, even field endings have their little dips, have their little divots that people can take and try and use to their advantage, where it might look like there is nothing there for a lot of perspectives or lines of sight and things like that. And that's what a guy like Pokemon brings to the table for MADBULLS.
Okay, well, we looked at their last 5 matches, but what about their last 5 days? We want to give you some sort of context to how big of a day was yesterday, but also to a level of consistency that MADBULLS have been able to pull off here. So this is the last 5 days of play, which goes back, obviously, to Phase 2, the last day. But 90 points, almost doubling their previous days, is insane. It's mad.
It's to the point I want to say, is this a record that we just witnessed yesterday? If it is not, I really wonder what the record is, because 90 point on a day is absolutely mental. And I've personally never witnessed that in the PMPL ever, period. So yeah, that's just goes to show, like, even their results before, like 30 point a day is pretty decent, not the highest you could have, but still decent. 53, 56, those are really good days. And then just like, let's just try and double that in yesterday's matches. And you don't see that very often. So yeah, I mean, as I said, I think this team is currently the team that could perform the best in the championship and also PMGC if they make it that far. And I really hope they do, because this team is just made out of golden players. And I think that this team could really impress on an even bigger stage here.
Yeah, and thinking about it, right, I have no doubt in my mind that MADBULLS will qualify into the European regionals. And I don't feel like I can say that really as easily for any other team now or in the past, just based off the fact that teams typically, when it comes to long form tournaments, they can play one way and have one kind of performance. Then you go into these more short form tournaments, for instance, like the finals, right, which is 3-4 days, teams can struggle. They can have a bad day, and that punishes them permanently throughout the rest of that event. However, with the new system we have, the new format of accumulating points to go directly to the finals every phase, the overall points you get at the end of those 3 phases give you those extra points as well. MADBULLS, even with a bad day, I think they will be the team to move in.
Yeah, I mean, those points that you're referring to, right? Of course, that does give MADBULLS probably a little bit of an advantage going into the finals. But even if they didn't have that advantage, I still think they'd be looking absolutely pristine and primed to go into it. I love, though, that we do reward such excellent play throughout these phases going into the finals. I think it's an awesome way to be able to just give them this off the back of the fact that there's been so many games they should be rewarded for excellent play.
Yeah, and I know in the past we were definitely a little bit frustrated seeing teams have like 100, 200, 300 points ahead of any other team in Super Weekends and go in the finals with no advantage whatsoever. But at least they did get obviously money when it came to chicken dinners. But right now we're obviously talking about, you know, MADBULLS looking like they're going to be the CCT, the team to look forward to in PMGC. But we also have teams at the bottom who are fighting just to get into the finals here at PMPL. And 2 of those teams are going to be ARB champions and, of course, Death Machine, which is so weird to say considering we saw it after Phase 1. So we wanted to narrow in a little bit more on how these teams are doing when it comes to our battlegrounds. Let's focus on ARB champions first and take a look at the performances across all 3 of our battlegrounds and maybe hammer in where potential weak points are or where potential strengths are.
Yeah. And I think that, well, I mean, me and Colossus, I think we already mentioned this a few times, right? The fact is, you got the same amount of each map, right? You got 33%, 0.3, repeating 3 of each map. So if you have one map that is really your weakest link, it is going to hurt you significantly in your overall rankings. And here, Colossus, the big outlier is going to be Miramar, that fine Picardo that we brought up so many times by now, fighting with Death Machine. A 12-minute average survival time after all the matches. This is over the entire tournament, by the way. You get almost no points from that, and that on the long term really hurts you in your overall rankings.
Yeah, there's a moment when you look at this now. To a degree, I can kind of forgive Sanhok number in terms of average survival time, because the map lasts less time. It is very difficult to be able to navigate the treacherous waters of third parties constantly on Sanhok, but 12 minutes on Miramar is a bit of a disaster. And of course, for them going up against Death Machine in Picardo, for both of these teams that we're talking about, to be on the cusp and be going head-to-head is pretty scary. So there needs to be, I don't know, change, or they need to win the fights.
The weird thing is that this fight has kind of developed between them and Death Machine over the course of, what, now 3 different phases. And the funny thing is, at the end of the day, it is the battle for 16th, 17th place to get into our finals, and yet they keep going for it. I would almost want, like, obviously you don't want to be the team to back off and leave first because you're showing a sign of weakness, but the question is, will they continue to do this the last 2 days, every single time on Miramar, knowing that one messed up fight could ruin your chance to get into the finals?
Yeah, landmarks are important. Like, central landmarks especially are extremely important. Picardo, Erangel, boot camp to a degree, even though I don't... Sanhok's a bit of a weird case. But the fact that they're constantly fighting things out in Picardo here, it does show how much they value this location. Traditionally, in Battle Royales, people don't leave their drop spot if they believe they have claim to it. And they will fight tooth and nail to be able to protect it.
Yeah, the message from our Happy just said, like, they are very stubborn, clearly, from the answer that they are going to be sticking to Picardo. There's no moving there, so I don't know. I still would like to see potentially a team leave that position, but if they're just going to stick to it, and we currently know the overall rankings, they're 16th and 17th respectively. It doesn't matter what's going to happen. If a team is able to then just step up and win those fights in the early game, they might be able to make it. It's a weird situation. I'm not a fan.
It is weird because, of course, Picardo is it's a smaller city, but it can house 2 teams. You can have a team dropping in boxing ring as well as the buildings north of it, and then you can have one team dropping in, I would say, apartments and casino area. Like, this can be a thing, but the fact that they're so keen to be able to eliminate one another straight away on apartments is... to a degree understandable if they really want to hold it down and make sure nobody else is having claim to their territory.
Keen is one word to use. Before we look, though, at Death Machine's map stats, I want to ask you, like, a final question here about this topic. The constant fighting, the stubbornness to not change drop location, I don't understand it. Obviously, Clarcy said, like, teams typically want to hold on to drop location. They don't want to mix things up. But at this point, you know, pretty much at the end of the event, should a team have moved? Like, is it, like, feasible, or is it like a smart strategy for a team to just say, okay, this is not working out for us, we need to get out of here, we need to do something else? Like, what kind of level of leeway do you give them of, I'm going to hold this spot and keep dropping there, or, okay, they need to have already moved by now?
It's tough. It's team by team basis. People will hold on, as we mentioned before here. I think that both teams have probably resigned to themselves to the fact that one of them's probably going to the final and the other one isn't. I think both teams are kind of locked actually by the horns together in that kind of idea, that mentality. And from there, I don't know. It's going to be tough.
I mean, I said it earlier, 16th and 17th position respectively. Right now, ARB are currently in 17th. If there's one team that has to make a move, right, it would have to be ARB. So they're the team that currently have to make a decision.
All right, well, let's move on. Maybe I should take a look at Death Machine stats when it comes to our 3 battlegrounds as well. We obviously saw the 12 minutes when it came to ARB champs on Miramar, and it's actually going to be better here, quite better. 4 minutes of difference, actually, and all in all, Death Machine looking better when it comes to survival time. However, I do wonder how much of this extra time are these you know, additional stats come from that first week where Death Machine was 4th place at the end of the phase.
60 minutes is still not great when you're looking at it, but the main issue is not because they do win these fights versus ARB champions in Picado. They've won it quite a few times, actually. I think if you check out, on average, they would win that fight more in Picado versus ARB. The main issue is you lose a player, you lose 2 players, then your odds of a chicken dinner instantly go downhill. Then if you take a fight versus a full squad, you're going to be going out early. The issue is they're already losing an opportunity for wins super early in the match. And if they, once again, that would be a change that would help them out in the long term, but it's a bit late to bring a big change like that to the table when you're so used to playing with it. And as I said earlier, it does seem like our Happy and the team is willing to just stick to it because it's what they trained for.
I still so wonder, like, if you're at PMGC and this is happening, you can't. I feel like I don't agree with this kind of play style of just keep doing it because, you know, we don't want to be the team to walk away. We don't want the team to have to find a different POI. I'm not a huge fan of it, like, personally, especially when you get to these shorter form events, when we get to the finals and such. But, you know, we'll see how it plays out a little bit later on today as we need to move things along because the first match is ready to go. Let's take a look at our schedule. Remember, today we will be having, if I can say it correctly, a double Sanhoks. Now, I'm excited to see this yet again, obviously what we've had happen in the past, but we're also going to have double Erangel, and then tomorrow will be the double Miramar, double Sanhok days. So it's going to come to an explosive conclusion here between our top 16 teams. But we do have a talent quiz, gentlemen, and this one's interesting, right? Because we did a little bit of research. We had to look things up. We had to figure this out and calculate based off of a picture. Let's get the question in here, and it's based off of Rob's from Game Lord. The statement is the tallest in the team at 1.95 meters. Now, I can't tell you what that is in, you know, American height, because I don't actually know the conversion, but I know it is under 6'6", but above probably 6'4". So it's probably around like 6'4", 6'5". You guys' answers.
Saw his picture, thought he looked like a very tall, lanky boy, and had to go with yes, because I know, looking at his picture, my body proportions don't look anything like that, and I'm really short. So there you go.
I saw his player picture, and normally they cut around the waist, and it went way lower than the waist. I'm like, this, okay. Initially, I went with no, but then I saw the picture, I was like, okay, maybe I'll change it, and I changed it. Okay, so I'll admit it, but yeah, I'm going for the win here, hopefully.
I like how you did your original testing method of, oh, yesterday was yes, so today has to be no. And then you saw the picture, you're like, oh, no, hold on, let me change this answer.
Okay, we'll see.
Well, the funny thing is, actually, Colorside changed to no. We baited you into a yes pick here, Max. We all picked yes, and we're all correct. Don't worry. That means we all get a point. And Max, you can be happy.
I'm probably the only one I'm going to get today, to be honest. So I'll take it. You know, it's fine.
I think for me, looking at him, I was like, I remember being a little bit younger and looking pretty similar to that.
You're a tall boy.
That's from one tall lanky lad to another.
Does he have that butt chin though? I don't think so. So yeah.
So who wins? Yeah, exactly. Good point, Max. Yeah.
Max, at least you're embracing the butt chin. I hope you maybe draw a line or something on it a little bit later on just to really emphasize it, maybe shadow it in. Who knows? So let's throw over to our commentators, though, and get away from this topic and talk about the matches today here with John Allen and Blank.
Well, I suppose we're getting away from it either way, Blank, but we're getting into game number 1. We're going to be ready and raring to go on this, the double Sanhok day. Blank's warming up. He's limbered. He's ready to run around those jungle fronds that are going to be jumping out at him, watching for players, scoping it out.
Yeah, I'll be scoping everything out today. Honestly, I'll be keeping my eyes on the prize, which is who's going to win at the end of the day. However, I do want to see Max choose some good teams, all right? This is the one thing I don't like, right, is that sometimes he will choose like kind of a little bit of a tricksy team, right? Maybe a team that's not going to win, but he thinks it's a little bit exciting. But at this point in time, you can't let Jason beat you. How can Jason beat the Maxman? It's unacceptable. The Maxman. This is a god amongst men. With he's got 2 chins on his chin.
So many chins, dude.
It's crazy. Okay.
Like sideways, not up and down. That's mean.
Yeah, that's correct. So this cannot happen. All right. So he needs to try hard today. That's what he's told me. He's messaged me. He said today is a big day for the Maxman.
It's playing the Rocket League.
Yeah, like the Rocket League. So for some other teams, though, it really does also have to be a big day. For some of these lads wanting to catch up to MADBULLS, it seems to happen right now. And if there's anything to go off from MADBULLS' performance yesterday, today won't be as good, right? Just analytically speaking, statistically speaking, they have that one pop-off day and they go back to the norm for a little while. If it happens where MADBULLS continue to perform like this for the next 2 days, though, I would be quaking in my boots coming into finals from any other team, because at that point, you're looking for a second place.
Second place on the minds of a lot of teams around there. VIRTUS.PRO, TJB. Primarily, those three will be competing for that spot in this phase's games. Eastern Circle coming on through towards Death Machine on a very wide split with Amodi all the way out west on the northeast side. A little bit of a split drop from ARB as well. Jamaz actually potentially in danger near Team Doom.
Team Doom not really giving them too many problems so far though, John. And I think for ARB champions, should be able to get through. Perks currently in his compound at the moment, so we'll be looking for loot and gear, take some shots at Jamaz as he hits the ground, but this is a fairly safe position. TJB picking up the MUERTE spot, not playing in this match, but they will be playing in the rest of today. However, TJB will happily pick up Sami in that situation. Circle heads heavy over towards that eastern side, so quite a fair start to this game. Creur Deville on screen right now. Come on, ARB, you got to let the dogs out here, get the barking going, get some more bite in here as well, because these lads do need to pump up their points a bit today.
Just a little bit. It's no better time to do it. Get them on the cards, try and challenge for those qualification spots in the finals. But no real hot drops right now. VIRTUS.PRO took the spot that Na'Vi normally drop at, as we pan over to them almost immediately. On the northwest island, Na'Vi, of course, normally dropping at the top of the mountains, some of the compounds around there, and dropping down south. VIRTUS.PRO didn't drop anyone south or over to the compounds on that confluence around that trifecta area. They instead all dropped on that main island, and actually Corker has sent out west because at the moment, you know, Big aren't playing in this game either, so there is a lot of space on that northwest island.
Yeah, so you can expand out a little bit, and for them dropping on the northwest island gives them a little bit extra time to mess around with here, and they get the loot from the top side, move out towards the west, understanding that that's nice and free, can pick themselves up some nice bits of loot that side of the map, and then can figure out what they would like to do next in terms of moving in. Take Aim Gaming, do not drop down towards ruins here. Won't be with us right now. Instead, QODEX will pick up that position. XTEAM stats on our screen, 13 minutes. It's pretty rough here on Sanhok for them. Not able to get many times into these later circles themselves. For VP, on the other hand, quickly just talking about them, because there were some interesting things we brought up yesterday with them just not having a lot of elimination points right now. Still 58 with the highest placement points in the lobby. So they still do really well for themselves regardless of things. Now, MADBULLS have 12 chicken dinners at 413 placement points. The only team really close to that in the general rankings is VIRTUS.PRO with 407, but they have 5 less chicken dinners here. So even though we don't see the gargantuan elimination points coming out from VIRTUS.PRO similarly to MADBULLS, they are still able to get very, very far into a lot of these circles, not able to quite eke out those podium finishes of a second place all the time, often having to rely on someone like Yankee to play that solo snake, which he does very well, to be fair to himself. But that is what's really keeping them in the picture at the moment, especially here in Phase 3.
And as well, with the substitution that they've made, they've brought Corker back in today again. It seemed like yesterday there was some impact there from Corker for VIRTUS.PRO, and the desk, I think, said they wanted to see more from this substitute coming on and potentially entering the main roster for the finals if there's a performance there, because VIRTUS.PRO fairly guaranteed right now, Blank, to be able to make it into the finals with the totals that they're on. Currently sat in second place overall, as you mentioned. Those 407 placement points doing a lot for them. 693 is their current total. That is a pretty hefty sum, beaten out only by the MADBULLS, of course. Na'Vi hot on their heels with 674, but they're not playing in this game, and VIRTUS.PRO have taken their spot in this game. So maybe this is a statement, Blank. This feels like a bit of a call out from VIRTUS.PRO.
Absolutely, and I think that you look at the player stats as well from yesterday, where they brought Corker in. That is a very unfortunate as Game Lord just completely decimate the players from Unicorns of Love. They're just down to 1 now. But you look at yesterday for VIRTUS.PRO, and we mentioned how, you know, after Phase 3, the beginning, you saw Mia with 1,000 less damage than everyone else there. You come into yesterday, you see that Corker's 962, and the highest from the team, though, is 1209. But he is technically second highest for the team in terms of damage dealt, so definitely bringing an impact to the team there.
And coming in as a fresh new substitution with no pre-built synergy in the actual tournament games. Obviously, they'll be familiar with each other, but it's really cool to see something like that, so very happy. Shockwave close by to Death Machine. Nusa already going down and getting flushed, so Death Machine not starting out their day in the best of spirits, but perhaps better than the Unicorns of Love, as Crypto is the only remaining player now on the north side.
Yeah, Unicorns of Love have had a really big drop-off from their previous 2 phases. First phase dropping in 7th place, second phase at 3rd place, and now all the way down in 12th with 108 points. So it's really not going cleanly for them here. They are getting caught on their rotations a little bit too many times for my liking. And you almost feel like it's a certainty whenever you see Unicorns of Love rotating close to a team that they are going to engage. Unicorns of Love are going to lose players, and it's going to become rough there on out. I think for them, they've never really found their footing in these later circles. You can see here, just rotating out in the open, instant explosion on that vehicle. Gets some disgusting knocks through, and now Unicorns of Love down to 1 player, Crypto, remaining, who has been the heavy hitter for that team for quite the while now.
Has been somewhat of a carry. I mean, we talked about him as a potential phase MVP candidate. I think he was doing really, really well during phase 2 for the Unicorns of Love specifically. I mean, the guy was absolutely a machine, but we just haven't seen that performance come back. So hopefully they can pick up their feet, because again, we're likely going to see them into those finals. It's 6th place overall, 599 points. It's fine. You might lose out a couple bonus points for it. And if you're a middle of the pack team, which at the moment Unicorns of Love certainly looking that way, if not slipping down a little bit lower, those 1, 2, 3, 4 points could make all the difference. So if you can have a good game, you can ladder up maybe 2, 3, 4 places, you can put yourself in those positions to take advantage of that.
MADBULLS currently position themselves around XTEAM at the moment. They got a lot of information early on, and now they are playing the Ninja game at the moment as XTEAM lines up along the rock. Monkey's going to take out the backside member here, so the backstop will be down, and 100% he should be able to get some more sprays. Nightmare takes a heavy lick, and again, MADBULLS are all in fantastic positions to capitalize on their skills, just waiting out in the open, so confident.
Monkey has just forced them into this trap. This is really well corralled by MADBULLS. They seem to know exactly what's up yet again. They are absolutely in the perfect position at the perfect time. The nades come through, the shots are there. There is no chance for XTEAM in this scenario against a team that is on form in a way we have not seen the likes of. Western Europe is being lit up by this.
Yeah, clean pickings there for MADBULLS. Easily set up for them as well. They knew how they wanted to position themselves in that fight. Again, the macro from this team is undeniable at this point in time. Very difficult to deal with. And a lot of their fights just simply happen so fast. And there really isn't much... There's not much retaliation from these teams as well, because I think because they get the drop on them and then are so instant with the follow-ups as well, you know, it's that 1-2 punch that really gets those players going. So it's the first punch that, yeah, does the most damage, but it's that second punch that lays the enemies flat. And I think that's what's so difficult for a lot of these teams to contend with, because we do see often for a lot of PUBG Mobile, a team will get the first knock, team will get into cover, they'll get that res through, and then you'll be in almost a stalemate. But MADBULLS never let that stalemate come to pass. They are instantly in there, and it's never a case of, you know, we're going to wait a little bit, see if we can get another knock, see if we can get another peak. As soon as they get that one knock, they know they have the advantage, and they feel very ready to press that advantage as well.
It's absolutely incredible. It's really, really solid start. I mean, the moment you see MADBULLS, you're already dead at this stage. Like, if you don't know they're there, as soon as you see them, they have the drop on you and you've lost. It's really, really nice to see a team so coordinated. So hopefully our praises don't come back to bite us in terms of their performance this game. We have seen them slip up once or twice. I mean, we're speaking about them like they're the Avengers or something. I know Max likes to dub them the Avenger level threat, but they have had one or two places where they have slipped up. I mean, Phase 2, for instance, they finished down in 6th place. Overalls, 244 points, with 5 teams beating them out. And that is obviously one of their lower performances, but getting 248 points on your worst phase is incredible. And I mean, you brought this up, their chicken dinner total is unsurpassed.
Yeah, 12 chicken dinners so far, and with the second highest being 10, third highest being 9, then you have a hefty drop-off from there to 7 and 6. So at the moment, they are really taking a lot of these games home, and with this kind of shift up towards the northeast side, MADBULLS can start to kind of control this a little bit more for themselves. They know they've cleared out that northwest side coming down from Paradise Resort. They'll be most likely aware that, you know, maybe Unicorns of Love or Game Lord will be coming down from that north side. Usually Game Lord likes to slip past down towards boot camp. Them taking this eastern rotation is what I think caught Unicorns of Love so off guard here, with nothing to really do alongside it. So very, very difficult to work that one out.
I think the hard first circle to the east actually brought in a few rotations that maybe we haven't seen before, which is, I mean, XTEAM running straight into MADBULLS, who were in at exactly the right place to catch that. Game Lord moving out to the east. It seems like a few things may have shifted, but the circle's now crunching in with Paradise Resort in the northwest.
Obviously, it's a bit of a difficult position for teams to work around now, as there's no one in Paradise Resort. No one really wants to commit to it. When you do commit to Paradise Resort, you want to be playing those rooftops, which makes leaving it a little bit more tricky. Yeah, holding it is great, and you are able to get a ton of information and a couple of picks here and there. But with it shifting away this early on, John, teams now have to figure out where around this circle they'd like to start playing. There is quite a bit of open ground, quite a bit of tree line to play around with. Team Doom, they spy out Nexus. Fortunately for Team Doom, they really have slipped on the rankings just a little bit. They had a slight stand-up for themselves, but not really has come to pass with anything too much other than that.
Shots over back towards them, and they lose Frosty out in the open. Redox wants the shots over towards Zero, but a trade is good right now, and Redox going down after Doran has just left the location, slows everything down. Octavian falling as well, and Team Doom is starting to corral, starting to rally themselves. Zero out in the open, a bold push gets punished, and that might take the wind out of their sails right then and there. Blank as Zero flushed out, leaves them at 2. Phantom and Perks moving forwards. Perks around the side. Octavian in danger. I think this is the old boy wall right now. So what can EXO do to hold off? There's still 3 for Nexus.
I don't think it's starting to get quite tricky, because you have that almost reset now where teams can analyze your location. He has to be quick with it here, over towards the player up the hill, but it's EXO to come in hot on his heels. We'll take him down within the door frame. Now Phantom just has to send away, but you can see Redox currently encircling, swarming.
Oh, seems like Phantom has the bead on it though. Redox gets the drop on the shots, but doesn't go for the re-challenge, not just yet. Instead, Doran takes the final elimination. And with that, Team Doom fall, but 4 Romanian men are right next door. They might look for this one. You look at the circle, they're going to have to move north, and 4 Romanian men know all about this fight.
Yeah, we'll just stand in the way of Nexus. I think for Nexus, though, they are one of these surprising teams playing from the edge where there is quite a bit of times that we have seen them really fight doggedly on the edge of this circle, and still with a hell of a lot of determination, be able to make their way through, be it with just Doran on board there. Circle does shift all the way over towards Paradise Resort, and now MADBULLS might be thinking of heading back over there. They've not cleared this area in quite some time. It's been about I'd say 7 minutes since they left this area as well. So coming back into this one, caution will have to be a key factor for them. They got 2 in the circle, 2 out in the blue. Very standard play from a lot of these teams. You protect the teams that are coming in from the edge, as well as you get a little bit of ground to play in should you need to regroup the rest of your team.
That is pretty nasty on the shift. I mean, that's 2 northwest shifts, seemingly. It looked like Paradise was right on the edge, but it's still in this next circle. Death Machine moving along with the 3 that they were able to group with on the eastern side. Long way to go for them. And a lot of teams going to be holding out in their way. I mean, most notably the MADBULLS on the southeast. They left Paradise Resort, their initial drop, to move down southeast after the circle popped. And now VIRTUS.PRO and GameLord have moved in to Paradise Resort on that north side.
It's a good spot to take up in this circle. Beforehand, it didn't really hold too much weight because you weren't sure if it was going to head up that way. And it would have had to have been a very hard shift to make this one happen. Now, teams would like to take some high ground positions on top of the buildings in that area. You get to look down towards the players below you as well, which is nice. Zerish finding Narvala, instantly flushing him as well. So MADBULLS slowly snaking their way in towards Parasite, and actually they're able to slither inside too. So I think for this team, they're not too bad for themselves. And VP as well as GameLord, be wary of the Viper within the buildings.
Zarek goes for the shots, but will fall down to Old Boy, who's on the ball. They're very aware of the threats that exist here, and this is a signal for GameLord to potentially cause some trouble as well. Look at their positions on the top right-hand side of the screen. They are facing out towards the MADBULLS. Akashi, position potentially unknown here. A nade over towards Zarek, actually doing a lot more work as well, as MADBULLS lose one on their re-entry to Paradise. Oh, effect up top. Might have spotted Old Boy, but nades continue to go through from Yankee.
There's always going to be a struggle for MADBULLS coming back into this area. If anything, it's quite bold, attempting to retake this. Could be a few teams heading into this one that they would have had no hope in hell of challenging beforehand. So the fact that even trying to get in towards this area to try and clear teams out of it, you know, they are really looking for a win here. Arabian Champions coming up behind QODEX, actually finding at least one of them, but the amount of refrags that are coming back through towards Arabian Champions is good, but it's Crypto able to find Pioneer, and Xiao from TJB taking down Michu there.
TJB have been playing out on this west edge in the blue zone for a long, long time, and now they're taking the opportunity to third-party this engagement. It's the right time to do so. They could potentially even get up to the compound to the north of them. You can see that on the minimap, and that could be really, really powerful if they don't just want to close down both of these teams right here and now.
I mean, you're sort of considering whether not to just leave this fight alone and in fact move towards that compound on the western side. Jason going with VP, so is Kalaris, but Maxman with the MADBULLS pick. Now, a little bit interesting there, down to 3 already, but this definitely could come to pass with this moving away from Paris Resort as well as good.
I think that prediction was before they lost a player. I think that they come in at around 16 minutes, 16 and a half maybe, so potentially before they lost that player. Well, we'll seek clarification at some point, but knocks over towards NEXUS from ARB. They continue to try and keep going, but it's just where they are now left. And remember, this is the team that's chasing Death Machine right now, and it's not starting out well. ARB with their worst week to date going on, and it's the worst time for it to happen. They're currently sat below XTEAM, which has not happened before. We have not had a team finish on a lower total than XTEAM up until this point.
It's improvement from XTEAM, man. That's all I gotta say. Really good stuff. I mean, they're still going out very early, but you know, making it happen here. QODEX,
yeah.
Woodson spots Xiao there, and there's absolutely no retaliation coming back from their side, so no bullets sent back his way. But the amount of meds that they should have on board from playing Sami this long, this could be a good opportunity for them. But they drop the smokes, move out, try and gain some cover up top side, but Sitol taking a lot of damage. The blue, even hitting him once, should take him down here at this late stage in the game.
But they push forwards and keep themselves out for now. GK first wants an answer. Moneycam behind the tree finds that cover somehow. A little ankle poking out. No, GK first can't spot it out in the open. Moneycam gets that heal off, gets himself back to a little bit more confident position. Zittle again being spotted. Pioneer coming in from that eastern flank and causing havoc. QODEX somehow get ahead of TJB in this engagement, and TJB are suffering for it. GK first has that answer though, and we've seen him do heavy lifting before, but no longer as he gets spotted, knocked. Not flushed just yet, but it's only a matter of time.
Yeah, there's shots coming from all over at the moment. Any fight that happens in this area, it's going to be responded to. There's more shots coming through as well. This is from Arabian Champions, I believe, from outside in the blue. They will finally finish him off, but Pioneer suffer greatly because of this.
That south side was looking to be a little bit of a bastion for them, but taking that knock, far from ideal. Can they get each other back up? Can they get into this next zone? The MADBULLS 3 might actually be pretty solid on this cliffside. They're going to stop players from leaving Paradise.
Yeah, I think that they set themselves up nicely. As soon as they took that knock, they took the second best decision, which is we can no longer really go for these fights inside of Paradise Resort, but now that we see this shift, we can comfortably hold teams within. So great nades to take down the exit for Game Lord, who are trying to move out, but I think it was Monkey there with some beautiful HEs that were tossed over the top to really halt that push outwards. VP think better of it, and we'll just hold on that western side. In the meantime, you do have two players from MADBULLS who move up quite succinctly. It would have been really nice for VP to have at least got another knock here on towards MADBULLS. Or in the same regard, it would have been great for MADBULLS to get at least one knock backwards. But now they have maintained this position for maybe a little bit too long. There's really not many exit points available for them, and MADBULLS are trying to lock every single one down.
Ooh, nice 1-2 punch. That's what you're talking about early. Monkey able to deal the second, gets back behind the wall, has cover. Should he start taking fire? And VIRTUS.PRO struggling. MADBULLS all the while moving closer and closer to the circle. QODEX actually now getting in on the action as Corker goes down. Shots over towards Old Boy as well from MoneyKen. Suppressed just that little bit, just for a little bit longer. But how long can you last? Yankee has an answer. But out comes Effect and the big guns are in. Yankee gets to cover somehow, but Corker not so lucky. Yankee low. Old Boy already around the foothills there. And Pioneer still have an outpost.
VP, it's got Old Boy underneath. This lad is nothing to be trifled with, but with three players and MADBULLS on top side who are threatening of their own, it becomes quite rough. Yankee still healing out though. And this is the player that's got them a majority of their placement points, but Game Lord's moving up in the meantime.
Trying to move on forwards, not going to be able to do the job with the auto shotty. Monkey does get the knock. VIRTUS.PRO eliminated. MADBULLS now moving through with a hefty numbers advantage and the high ground. They're absolutely sweeping everyone aside, and all of a sudden, the circle is completely clear. Blank, it's the MADBULLS losing a player, going back up to Paradise Resort and guarding everybody out. TJB makes second place, but the MADBULLS 3 make it work.
There's no way that Lin is going to find anything here on his side. 13 first aid kits. At this point in time, he's just going to try and heal out for as long as possible to ensure that he does get that second place. But for the MADBULLS, again, it's that quick shift in decision-making that comes through mighty clutch for them. Effect going down outside the blue does maybe give a singular chance, but he really does need to get into cover if he wants to take two of these players down. And on this side of the map, there's really nothing he can get towards. I think he spots that tree. Maybe he can move out towards it. Highly unlikely, though. But for the MADBULLS, this is one hell of a game for them to play, and it's played out marvelously. But again, it's something to do with VP that we'll talk at the end game about, which really causes their downfall despite having the 4 players. For MADBULLS, though, 16 eliminations. What a wonderful game here on Sanhok for them.
Lin still has a couple first aids to go. If he scouts out more, he might be able to find something. Trying to break out wider. Monkey and Skills. Not giving the lineup. They are moving constantly. They're shifting and they're changing direction. It's what you want to see in these scenarios. We have seen, remember, a blue zone healer win out a game from iffy positioning, committing to a res that you don't need to go for. But Lin starting to run out of meds here and should go down after this next first aid. Unless the MADBULLS give him something, but I don't think they will. The smokes are there. That's covering angles. Looking for a spray. Spots one, maybe, but isn't really going to land too many shots, and that's going to be it.
I did say elimination as well.
They pick up the point for it. MADBULLS, chicken dinner.
I mean, 32-point game with those 17 eliminations at the start of the day. John, they are a third of the way there to equaling their point totals from yesterday off that Sanhok alone, which is unbelievable to say the least. Now, we come back to the VP problem, right? The V problem. This is something that we need to talk about because it was a big issue in the sense that when you look at their positioning, they had 4 players. Maybe they were a little bit worried about Game Lord, but when you wait that long and that singular exit point becomes a huge problem for you, the fact that they didn't move out earlier to try and take ground, to try and take control of that, speaks a lot about how VP's feeling in this tournament. Yes, they're able to get those placement points through, but in terms of their elimination game, there really isn't a lot behind them at the moment in terms of oomph. I think as soon as you get that one elimination onto MADBULLS, taking that fight between them on that cliff edge, that should have been just a full send, right? Even if you lose it, that is how you win those games. They had the best position, John.
Maybe they were spooked by Game Lord's position there, I don't know, but you're right, it felt faltering, and MADBULLS seized the opportunity, as we know they do spectacularly. 16 eliminations, I think 17 towards the end there even. Fantastic game from MADBULLS.
A howling blast over the lobby as things chilled down, and a chill up the spine of every team out there trying to compete with MADBULLS. Just not possible. They are just built different. What happens? They have 3 players and they still pull off, what was that, 17 eliminations on a Sanhok? This team, what else is there to say that we haven't said already?
Hey, Monkey's angle at the end too was key. VP could not escape that position. It's weird because I think, Kalash, you mentioned it also during that game. VP had some relatively good smokes in that position to exit Paradise Resort. It was actually a really good game plan for them. But then they put himself in a position where you have Monkey with that third-person perspective. He's right behind the wall, taking no risks whatsoever from his position. It's a flawless position. They cross in, gets 1, 2 eliminations in that position. And when you start losing players, and you also have MADBULLS that are in such a good spot, there's no escape. But yeah, MADBULLS, even though they left their position, they got back in super quickly and had the best spot again.
That's the thing. When you come out of a place like Paradise Resort, you need your smokes to be on point if you've allowed teams to get ahead of you, because it'll be like shooting fish in a barrel for anybody at that point when you're exiting this position. So VP had 4 alive, but it still was not enough to be able to take out the MADBULLS, who they're raging at the moment.
I like how we were all talking about predictions while watching, and one reason why Klaris and I didn't pick MADBULLS is because they only had 3 players left alive and VIRTUS.PRO had 4. And Max is like, I don't care, it's MADBULLS, and still picks them and gets the point. And I mean, how could you ever like flip them now anymore at this rate? They play every spot perfectly.
I'm surprised you haven't gone for the infinite strategy of predictions, Jason, yet, because of how many wins that they're getting. It's insane.
It's a good point. You know what? I might have to change my strategy in the last couple of days here. I don't know what else to say, honestly, about them. Like, this is the team to watch out for when it comes to the finals. The team to watch out for in European regionals. Like, the team to look for at PMGC. I don't know if any team can stop them.
I know what to say about MADBULLS. They're pretty good, and that's they're pretty good at the video games. But yeah, the thing is, they already dropped in Paradise Resort itself. They already had the information. They even left the position because they were expecting another circle. Boom, hard shift. What do? We were in Paradise right before. We scouted all that position. We know that if we are quick, no one will have time to go in Paradise, because who in their right mind would go into Paradise at that point in time? Just regroup, get in position. Sure, we lose a player, happens, but then hold the angle south because it starts moving away from Paradise. So once again, it's a simple execution, but the speed at which they execute it every single time is what puts them so far ahead of the rest of the lobby, because then with the other teams, they already lost a few players and they just enter the position without good spots to fight from. And then look, Effect's angle, you can't escape him. He just sees everything with that third-person perspective. Monkey with a perfect angle, exiting out of Paradise Resort. They have every situation under control. No matter what you throw at them, they will come out on top. That's the MADBULLS kind of recipe, and it worked out.
And that's the thing about Paradise Resort, is the one location that they entered back into Paradise Resort, as well as kind of exited later on, is one of the only high ground positions outside of Paradise Resort. Everything else is kind of like downhill. So them being able to control that area for as long as they did means that they're just going to have a big advantage over anybody else trying to move out of there.
Let's take a look at their player stats, because we did see, was it Monkey actually up extremely high when it came to eliminations. I think leading his team at 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, there you go. 7 elims, 7 knockouts, 800 damage.
0 damage. They took 0 damage. Okay. I mean, just goes to show how good the angle was, right? I said it, Monkey's position is flawless. You take no risk by doing that. You're behind a position, you wait for them to push, peek up, get the instant spray down, peek down again. You're done. It's easy. It's easy for them. And even it's not Effect and Zerish. It is Monkey of anyone who was able to pop off in that one, because that position was so strong. Yeah, I feel like I'm getting repetitive, saying so many things about MADBULLS, because he's just so good every time. It's annoying.
Keep winning, yeah.
I think they have 13 chicken dinners now across the 3 phases.
Yes, they do.
Okay.
Pretty ridiculous.
Ridiculous, honestly. And when the phase isn't even done yet, we still have 2 days left to go. They still have 3 matches left to play today. You know, I know we were playing on Sanhok though, Kalaris, but I had to bring this graphic up just for you, because I guarantee there's not going to be Sanhok numbers. We take a look at our total damage here in the last match, and we should see MADBULLS insanely high. And I don't think any other team's going to come close. No other team breaking 1,000 damage.
what do you even say about it? I mean, even 17 eliminations on a Sanhok is pretty uncommon. That is a bit of an anomaly in itself. Never mind the amount of damage that they're able to put out. Never mind the fact that they were 3-man towards the end. Never mind the fact that they make all the right moves when it comes to exiting and entering Paradise Resort, a location that's a bit notorious for being hard to even exit. So they're good.
Well, I feel like we need to come up with another name. Like after Sanhok numbers, you got MADBULLS numbers. I think that is the new standard we should expect now we're going on this graphic.
Every game, yeah.
Every game is MADBULLS numbers, yeah, exactly.
I do want to take a look at something, and I hope we can actually have this here, because it brings up something you mentioned while we were watching, Klaus. Can we take a look at MADBULLS' last 5 matches? Because if I'm not mistaken, the last 5 games they played, they have 4 chicken dinners.
Yeah. And it's, as we said, even the 8th place with the 8 eliminations is just kind of nuts. This is, again, very unheard of. Even the 3 chicken dinners in 4 games was unheard of. Now it's just continuing. I wouldn't be surprised. Wait a minute, let me check the groups. I was about to say, I wouldn't be surprised if they win the next game. Yeah, they're playing that as well. How do you stop this momentum? I don't like using the notion of momentum too much because it's a very weird kind of concept, but they are absolutely on a roll, and if you asked them, they'd be feeling it.
Well, Kalaris, I noticed you're not wearing red anymore, so maybe that's you trying to calm them down and not send them into a furious rage to continue winning throughout the day. So maybe that was.
I had to take it off. It was just too warm in here, and MADBULLS was turning up the heat. This was, and I think it's going to keep going. I think it's going to keep going.
All right, well, let's head on over to our commentators. The second match is ready to go. We're going to be sending things on over to Erangel with John and Blank.
We're going into the next game. Erangel, as it was talked about on the desk. Blank, the MADBULLS seem unstoppable, but the chase at the bottom still on as ARB not able to make it up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for the MADBULLS at the moment for them not to lose a game at the moment. So it's a bit tricky right now for any of the teams in the lobby to continue doing so well versus a team like this. I think it will kind of shake things up in terms of the prediction game as well, John, because how do you realize who is going to win this game when MADBULLS are in the lobby and they go down to 3 and it's like, well, can we really count the MADBULLS out at this point in time, or do we just have to go for them again and make sure it happens? I don't know anymore, John. We'll see what happens in Erangel, but again, looks like Maxman is try-harding in terms of predictions to try and catch up today, and the other lads are slacking just a little bit.
Hey, to be fair, he needs to, and it's working out for the moment anyway. We'll see if the Jason predict the same team every game strat will come into effect this time around. I mean, we've seen it in previous seasons. He didn't do too badly on it, but he's outdone himself. I don't know how he's done it, Black.
Yeah, he's really pumping up the numbers, and I'm happy to see it as well. I mean, good for Jason. You know, can't finagle the game anymore, so he just has to actually work on his analytical skills, and somehow this is working quite well for him.
Seems his intuition is paying dividends right now, but Kalaris is still in the lead, I think, by, was it 1 point? Still
1 point currently.
Still best analyst, It's fine, don't worry about it. But he's gonna have to try and go again and fend Jason off one more time, this time around. Blank plane path, potentially a pain path for a couple of these teams looking for spots. MADBULLS out early on the southwest towards Primorsk, northeast of the plane path near Kameshki, just south of Yazdaya.
So this means that MADBULLS are able to hit the ground nice and early here and start getting a little bit of work done for themselves in terms of looting and think about how they want to move to the next circle very, very quickly with this speed at which they'll grab gear and go. Unicorns Love, Game Lord, Death Machine, ARB not in this Erangel here, so we won't have that chase for ARB and Death Machine going on at the moment. Though Team Doom have kind of snuck themselves back into the picture just a little bit. I think after that last game, they were able to kind of even themselves up alongside with ARB. Circle heavy east. I mean, when you see this plane path that goes from the western side over towards the east, you know, MADBULLS got a good drop. You know, it's going to kind of unfavor them just slightly. You almost feel this eastern shift coming.
I mean, we had it on Sanhok. Why not have it again here this time around? The east shifts are coming thick and fast today. XTEAM dropping out on the west coast, so those vehicles, they're not going to be available to MADBULLS, but they dropped around Quarry. I think Effect lost the hot drop for a vehicle near Ferry Pier to Team Doom. I believe Zero actually managed to grab a vehicle and Scarpa, so MADBULLS going to lose out on that one potentially. But as you say, they dropped early, they can loot fast, they can move quickly after that. They still have a way to go. Is that a little bit of a hot drop potentially near Lipovka, near Mansion, near Prison?
You'll take Aim Gaming as well as Eastern Stars there, but taking Aim Gaming and just pick up Lakawi, and then obviously you are going to see Eastern Stars head down towards that south side, towards MUERTE Power, MUERTE area itself, and just loot up there. In the meantime, I think for a lot of these teams, things aren't looking too badly for themselves. Unfortunately, Take Aim Gaming does spot out Bazzi there as he tries to rotate away, and Mind will just run down Athis, so absolutely no mercy coming through from Take Aim Gaming.
Wow, okay, fair enough. Yeah, they tried to go for a long drop on the Eastern Stars team, and he gets away with the UAZ. We're pretty happy about that. And a level 3 vest, and a level 2 vest, and level 3 helmet. So Andy looking pretty good. I don't know how many weapons he was able to get. In comes the rundown. We're hopping over to the other side of the map. This is on the east coast, as Blank was talking about this engagement earlier. I do like this skin. I have to say on the car, it's one of my favorite. I think it looks pretty, but it's not going to be the prettiest sight for Kapahala as they roll on up. Does have the backup of Keme, but out hops Happy and immediately into the fight. Shotgun in hand, pump action there. Keme only on a pistol here. Kapahala, M4, so a little bit faster in the fight. Mind, I don't imagine he has a gun if he's not hopping out to help in this engagement, but either way, Keme gets away.
Yeah, he's looking for maybe another knock there. Now just send back up to Lipovka. So for Eastern Stars, that does not go well for them in the beginning. I think a lot of that comes down to Take Aim Gaming with a pretty good decision, to be honest with you. They have the guns, they have the vehicles, so they just send it up towards Eastern Stars. They get one rundown. They're able to get another knock onto one of those other players in Bazzi. So for Take Aim Gaming, they take the advantage where they can. Sure, they could have let Eastern Stars head down towards MUERTE Power, but in that situation where everything is in their hands, it's in their control, they decide, you know what, let's clear a team from our south. Let's make this eastern side of the map a little bit more spacious, and we can play from here as they send Toffees over towards Mansion area. He's going to pick up some loot in there. And TJB are currently down towards Shelter, one of the only teams really in their vicinity.
Ruthless playing Pachinki. Looks like they're just finishing up their pickups there. Looking at other teams close by to one another. No one really in danger. XTEAM, unfortunate that they're close to the MADBULLS again. That west side actually kind of cut off with NEXUS' outpost. Their rotation would be spotted if they head north. Pioneer will see it. MADBULLS will see it on the south. Potential to head just over the north of Quarry and try and slip through there, but XTEAM, potential to have trouble on their first rotation.
I would be curious to see how many of MADBULLS' eliminations are XTEAM players, because they drop so close to them on pretty much every single map, including Miramar as well as Sanhok, that they take them down fairly frequently. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of eliminations coming through from MADBULLS, a large quantity of them being XTEAM at the beginning, because they just proved to be not too much of a threat to MADBULLS. They make their rotational paths easier because of it. However, moving over this coastal side on the south side of the island, a little bit tough for a lot of these teams. You can tend to get yourself in a few traffic jams. It's where MADBULLS has suffered before in terms of, you know, taking that coastal side on the cliff edge and getting yourself muddled up in multiple team fights, where then moving towards that north, if the circle does shift north in towards a compound, becomes slightly worse for wear, right? It's not as easy as before.
TJB see Shockwave moving across the open fields, or certainly might have heard about it. Maybe Shockwave managed to find some ridgelines to rotate through. NEXUS over the north side of Pachinki. Ruthless not able to guard that out or slow them down potentially. Not ready for it at this point. Could be dangerous for them to allow so many teams further forwards, but they will do so nonetheless. Big yet to move from Severny. VIRTUS.PRO, they've got a pretty solid compound here. I mean, it's really well positioned, fairly central, out to the west of Mansion, one of the satellite compounds. No one really too close by. Shockwave, their rotation will have been seen by this, but VIRTUS.PRO not taking shots just yet.
Decided instead to keep it squeaky clean on this side. Take Mansion fairly early. We saw this yesterday where MADBULLS are able to find themselves great position behind Mansion area to hold out VP as they try to move out from that building, and it's happened twice now. We're seeing these reoccurring trends where VP is kind of unable to force themselves out of position sometimes. I think they're a good team when it comes to placement and being able to punish teams around them. When it comes to that full 4-on-4, sometimes they can play up just a little bit, not able to quite find those angles, not able to quite support each other as much as they'd like. And when you come into contest with a team like MADBULLS, who just looks so good in terms of synergy, it's very, very difficult to contend with that for VP.
Ooh, Zittel takes a little bit of damage, can't quite find the knock over towards Octavian, but Octavian loses a tire on the buggy. This is a pretty difficult valley to be able to escape from. You can see they are going to need that vehicle to come on through to get that back up. The smoke blooms, they sweep in, they get that pick up very, very quickly. The sprays from Xiao, finding it difficult to find that angle. A nice regroup there from Nexus, and actually there's another buggy ready away.
Yeah, the savior attempt comes through, and the attempt is successful. For Xiao, he has a very limited time there where he can actually take those shots and find them onto the vehicle. And at that distance, with the scope he's using, it's a little bit difficult. A lot of players in this lobby are extremely accurate with the M4, but at that kind of distance, I think it's excusable not to hit any of those shots, to be quite frank, with that window being so tiny to actually hit those shots before he got over the hillside. At least he's able to somewhat push that team into an uncomfortable spot on the map, in which case TGB can continue to control this kind of central area. Got another hard eastern shift over towards Lipovka. A lot of water in this swarm, but VP currently safe, and TJB might want to think about heading towards the compound, maybe a little bit further in, perhaps even playing the western rocky outcrops of Prison.
Looks like they are going to coalesce. Not quite all the way down to Prison right now. It seems like they're going to go a little bit further north than that. Shockwave going to be crunching in as well. Take Aim Gaming on that east side, moving to the eastern rocks of Prison by the looks of things. A couple of the shelter positions potential to take up for those teams on the west. There is still a queue out on that western side, Blank. About 4 or 5 teams yet to find their foot.
A lot of high ground in this area. Fair few compounds which are incredibly strong too, in which case teams can play atop them, try and take some shots downwards. Again, with the amount of shifts that have coming in through phase 3 in particular, where these games have just felt somewhat unfair at times, and it has taken an extremely competent team like MADBULLS to kind of play off the back of this chaos. A lot of teams are kind of being put out in the cold, out in the rain at the moment by these circle shifts, so I'm not really sure what to advise these teams to do, other than, you just have to play with what you get sometimes, which is what MADBULLS are very good at doing. Similarly, VP kind of just stick the feet in, and if they have to move, then they try and make it happen as best they can, and then it's down to Yankee to try and get those extra placement points towards the end.
Neither Doom nor Ruthless really want this engagement, and they will break around the headland of TJB, split apart on their rotations. TJB not really finding an engagement either. Probably pretty happy about that for the time being. Pioneer, though, they spot Big, trying to move in from those Yasnaya fields. Hisk, the forward position, is going to get taken down. Beast moves up and actually close to Izumitsu on the rock that sprayed down teammate, but Beast gets back in the buggy and repositions. Mazzaro, in the meantime, locked in combat. Havlik taken down by Mihi in the meantime, and it looks like backup has arrived for Big. They want to try and shred the back stop of Pioneer, but the nades are over the top, not quite slow enough on that Kirkfash. Moves around the door, not going to spot anyone, just pre-firing it, slowing them down. Big into the ground floor of the building. Fash forced out top. Is there anyone outside to pick up the pieces? Doesn't look like there is just yet. There is cover, however, from Pioneer, and they have got a little bit of control. Mazzaro backed off that rooftop as Fash can heal.
Likewise, dropping the Molotov on the top side. It's a nice Molotov on the top as well. We'll go into the dumpster, and Fash kind of has to just send that nade away, which does leave limited utility. Hisk still starting to bleed out here. MADBULLS currently taking a fight with Team 2. This is on the south side of Prison. TJB equally getting stuck in there. We mentioned they might be playing that west side, and in fact they are. Team Doom out now.
Not going to be able to get any further into this one. Big trying to stop the repositions coming on through with Mihi down as well. It's 2 players left standing. Pioneer want to push this down. You know, they're going to want those reses, and Beast will be able to answer with a couple of shots. Not going down just yet, but you got to think it's only a matter of time, especially with Black-White making a bold push out the door, banking on the player up top, looking to go for that res, which they are here. Zoro and Mihi left without Beast.
I think your major issue when you play the Alamo like this is that compound does have a tricky little circumstance where teams can move over this top side, but from this position, you can quite easily hold these teams out who try and crest this ridge. Problem comes when you do allow teams into the compound and into that area where it becomes a little bit more tough to deal with. Teams up top can provide cover towards those teams who are currently pushing into the compound itself. So getting that pick on the backside where they have to go to the res kind of puts a stopper on the entirety of the plans of Big, and it was a very, very well found one from Izumitsu, which kind of changes the dynamic of the fight.
Fight disengaged from now. Blank, the circle hard shifts northeast. Na'Vi, the only team that was really with a good spot in it. Everybody else now rotating on in, and it looks like VP are going to want to take that fight. Unfortunately, Tulika already down on the north side.
Instantly sending up top side. Toffees, though, here. And the rest of Take Aim Gaming, who were kind of hot at the start of this game with some really nice pickoffs over towards Eastern Stars. Now, MADBULLS will have to figure out just how they want to go about this. Take Aim Gaming, though, they only really have Hadge and Toffees here. Mind, as well as Happy, still trying to get into position. That vehicle almost comes back to bite MADBULLS from that nade that comes through.
Talk about projectiles. That one's a whole ton.
Large one.
A whole ton of aluminium flying at you. But MADBULLS stay alive, get the res, and want to get away. Take Aim Gaming, I think they've realized all the teams on the south will be crashing on this fight. They stayed in it and they leave.
Yeah, because Nexus is starting to come in too. I think for Take Aim Gaming, they've already succeeded almost by holding MADBULLS in this position, not allowing them to get forward. Now Nexus come up to bat, and it's a very much a weakened team of MADBULLS here.
Effect still looking for this heal, but no renades coming through just yet. Looks like they are going to pull the pin in just a moment. Effect takes a little bit of damage. Can the MADBULLS just disengage from this, or do they want to put more pressure on? That's their macro decision that they have to make now, Blank.
It's limited supplies for them too. I mean, they send a player up towards the top of the map, towards that north side, to try and scout a little bit. Zerich still doing his best to try and figure out where these players are. He's very, very good with that as well. Just a very short swing before moving back towards the rest of his team. Gets an eyes on the amount of players they're dealing with, knows it's 4, and now MADBULLS know they're up against a difficult fight.
This is a replay here of Team Doom. Effect just sweeping the hillside and moving up the top to find another excellent pickup, but now they have another hill fight to deal with. Still going on with Nexus, but Nexus hesitant.
Even if the MADBULLS are able to take this fight, they've still got a long way to go ahead of them. And with that shift up towards that north side, MADBULLS now need to just pull the trigger and realize, you know, we're going to have to just take 2 vehicles. We're going to have to just send it. They might want to head down towards that coastal side, towards Take Aim Gaming, and pass through the coast, because moving past this compound that QODEX is in, you're likely to get taken shots at. But I think they're banking on QODEX also making a similar rotation, which is quite smart.
I mean, it seems like it's going to happen as well. Players in the back, Keme will spot the buggy ahead and are going to be very worried about where the Eastern Stars could go. Everybody's moving north. Na'Vi took a fight with VIRTUS.PRO that they lost for the majority of it, and now they're down to 1 player on that north side, so power diminished for them. QODEX pull up right next to MADBULLS, right over the ridgeline. Can they find a nade? Because in the right place, that could tear the MADBULLS apart. Shots coming from down the hill. No one really with a position right now to take the shots, but TJB are just over this ridgeline as well. Fash is going to be able to spot QODEX as well. That's Pioneer chiming in from that northwestern side. And the MADBULLS are taking the shots as well from everybody. It is so dangerous on the south.
Yeah, Woodson gets behind. Classic play from him. Monkey's down. Skills extremely low. TJB is up the hill. There's a position that MADBULLS do like to play within the ditch, and they're able to just peek up now and again. And with their superior shooting, to be honest with you, in this lobby, they're able to quickly take those shots, quickly get knocks, start to clear space around them. Wouldn't really work if they weren't so good at finding those peaks and those angles. 4 Romanian men pushing over towards VP. VP need to keep 4 alive here.
They will be able to save Corker for now and look for the res as well. Broad to the hillside. Needs to be careful. Lin has an angle through the windows as well. Tries to thread the needle, but unfortunately, it's looking pretty camel-like on those shots. 4 Romanian men with just runner. Slips down into the water. Wants to swim as long as possible.
It's kind of the play you have to go for here after losing that fight so drastically against VP. You just send away. Again, for VP, that fight between them and 4 Romanian men, extremely important. They want to hold this side of the map. They've got a good compound to play here from. It is right on the edge, though, so they most likely will have to move, but clearing that ridge towards their western side is going to be the big difficulty for themselves. Again, it's that hesitation we see from VP so many times that needs to be alleviated.
TakeAim Gaming, trying to suppress Nexus. Somehow, MADBULLS have stayed alive as 4 blank. I'm not entirely sure why nobody pushed on that position. It felt like potentially a good fight to take for the teams at the back. But maybe they have other priorities on their minds right now. Position very difficult after these hard shifts.
I mean, it's a tiny spot within the circle that has that dip, right? That ditch to play around with, and that is so important to them because everywhere around this area is very, very open. So taking a Raz onto that spot to try and push it, difficult to get into position. And again, like we said before, MADBULLS, who are extremely good at team fighting and team shooting, if you try and Raz on that position as 1 vehicle, as 2 vehicles, they're likely to just explode the vehicles as they crash in. Ruthless Esports now moving into position, they just send straight pass, and it is a disastrous push for them.
Only Manu and Ulysses left for Ruthless, and they have angles on them to be spotted by TJB as well. Manu tries to push up into the smoke. TakeAim Gaming fight forwards. They move out and aggressive into this crash. They meet fire with fire, and it seems like it will extinguish Ruthless Esports for the time being. But hang on a minute, there's a knock there from Ulysses, and TakeAim Gaming are out the blue. Now they're in trouble as well. Ulysses finds a second, stops TakeAim Gaming from moving, and everybody's looking this way. Ruthless outlast TakeAim Gaming, but how much longer can they stand? The circle down south actually holds MADBULLS in it in the middle.
TJB being their biggest contender at the moment between them. There are only 3 players for them as they try and push in. Again, this is what we talked about before, taking knocks there. Horrific to try and head towards that spot. And MADBULLS, despite everything, this position is actually quite strong. They're consistently having to toss these smokes out to keep themselves in cover. The triple prediction too. Everyone else realizes how difficult it's going to be for these teams to push onto this spot. But now MADBULLS, with the amount of teams that have tried to find a position with the circle, there is nowhere around this that isn't occupied by at least 1 team.
I know, I could almost hear Kalaris' thought process during this prediction as well. He's like, oh, well, you know, it is a little bit of a meme, but they are actually in one of the best spots, and I'm going to have to predict them. I feel like that's his thought, because this is uncanny for the MADBULLS. They are still 4, they're still fighting. Shockwave finding out about it on that southwest edge, tried to swing around the side, getting lit up. Pioneer as well, getting on the action a little bit further northwest, but they'll have to move.
Again, this is the thing, though, is off towards that west side. They've covered themselves between TJB. TJB doesn't want any more smoke coming through from the MADBULLS, so they can just watch downhill now towards that west, clear that out, and then start to think about what they want to do in that endgame. Still with 4 players alive as well. It's just completely ridiculous.
Ulysses sprays from Redox, not quite finding that final tick. Under the vehicle, looking for shots, but not finding them again. However, the blue zone is right around the corner. Matic for Na'Vi is still going. Still solo on that northern side, but will have to shift south.
Yeah, pretty rough fight for them, actually, as they moved in. And now Pioneer attempting to get something done. But again, this is what I was talking about earlier. Skills, able to find those shots downhill towards Pioneer. They are looking to clear this west side. They have a mission, they have a purpose, and they are, at the moment, currently completing that purpose.
Successful. Ulysses down there. MADBULLS find that ping. will be able to set themselves up. Na'Vi move their solo down south into the zones, and they're in this next one. VIRTUS.PRO starting to try and leave. We've seen leaving compounds be pretty tricky for VP over these last couple of games. And they're going to try it again here.
And it's very, very astute that Old Boy does lead the charge as well. I mean, he moves forward. He knows he wants to drag his team to a position where they can win. Can't afford to wait around anymore. And MADBULLS to take down the final players there of Pioneer, take them to 7 eliminations so far. VIRTUS.PRO down to 3 players currently, but should be able to get that player back up. And instead, they just leave him behind.
Don't think that's allowed on stream. Goodness me. GK first, taking shots downhill towards Matic. Last player standing for Na'Vi. And still going, still surviving. They held this northeastern position. They took a bad fight with VIRTUS.PRO, or they had a bad fight with VIRTUS.PRO. VIRTUS.PRO, the initiators on that engagement. Down to 1, and they've outlasted all of these teams pushing down south.
I mean, for TJB, they're basically playing the exact same spot as MADBULLS, but just in the eastern position, right? They're the ones holding out on the eastern side. MADBULLS are happy to take shots towards TJB to prevent them from moving onto this spot that MADBULLS currently hold. And now it's just a case of you deal with the east side, we'll deal with the west. Later on, then we can regroup, then we'll take that fight. But for VP, limited medication available. They did get Yankee back up. They've brought him back into the fold. Now they need to look towards actually taking out TJB.
Well, good news is VP actually figured out how to leave their compound. That first hurdle has been jumped. We'll see if they can have the power that we've come to expect from VIRTUS.PRO over some of the games that we've seen from them. On that south side, you wonder who's going to go down first, Redux or MONEYKEN?
MONEYKEN has been pretty much a showstopper a lot of times in terms of his capability on QODEX. Fell off a little bit in Phase 2, but brought back with a vengeance in Phase 3 here. Zerish sent out wide towards that top side of the circle. They know they can't head too far towards the east, so at least having an anchor point on that north will give them a little bit of precedent when it comes to moving. Should the circle shift towards that north side anyway. Matic still going as well. 6 teams remain.
Ooh, VIRTUS.PRO losing Yankee early. GK first, low, but not knocked just yet. TJB holding the top of their ridge for now. Do the MADBULLS try and third party this? They feel like they may have swept that western side. They know where Matic is on that side as well. They might be able to crunch this one down and force this engagement, but it looks like they're going to bide their time right at the edge for now. GK first backed off, but puts nades back in.
Yeah, Zittel remaining pretty stalwart there. They know there's teams towards their west. Now MADBULLS move further down towards the south, see if they get their angles towards teams that are playing on that southeast edge. MONEYKEN finally finishes off that final player from NEXUS. Will grab himself a 5th place spot if he drops out now. Currently the blue is pushing him in though, and MADBULLS are watching that very, very diligently.
They're moving around. They are controlling so much territory as well. It's really, really nice to see. TJB do have the uphill advantage, but if VIRTUS.PRO can take another player down, and if they lose one themselves in the engagement, MADBULLS, they're onto a winner.
That circle heading over their way. Zerish holding that spot on the top side. Doesn't have to move now. That's kind of that wild card position with 3 players down below, and Zerish just staying still and silent. Might be able to find a player that tries to wrap towards the north side.
Tulika tries to make a bold change, but Lin is answered towards. This is great news for MADBULLS in the meantime. Sure, they don't get the points for it, but it gives them a little bit more pressure and slows VIRTUS.PRO down up the hill. GK first, and MONEYKEN slows things down as well, and it is all going pear-shaped up the top of this hill as both teams going at it. VIRTUS.PRO losing yet another, that's another knock, and MADBULLS take this opportunity. They've moved up through the circle, and in the meantime, the third party comes through. Matic is still going in the meantime, and hang on a minute, he's on the sideswipe. Zerek tries to find the shots down the hill, but will be able to finally put an end to Na'Vi. VIRTUS.PRO on 1, and MADBULLS, the last team surviving, with all 4 alive.
And this is going to be the back-to-back. There's no doubt about it. The amount of control they now have and their timing, once again, being absolutely immaculate. Yankee goes down and Zerish just looks for another spray, but now has information. With Old Boy enveloped by the blue, it's just a matter of time, John.
At what point do you call this team the greatest in Western Europe for sure? Like, I mean, they are absolutely bullying everybody else. They are taking no prisoners. They are making the moves that we love to see. And it is a masterclass. Back-to-back chicken dinners. What is it? 5 out of the last 6 games are chicken dinners for them. Nobody is as good as this team.
I mean, you look at this though, and what I see, which is probably the thing that is carrying them so much, is just insane knowledge of these circles. Like, they know every single little spot that's available to them. They must just be doing so much homework in their free time, because you saw what they wanted to go for there. They know there's going to be a couple of teams down towards their southeast as they're rotating after their short engagement with NEXUS and Take Aim Gaming. They rotate up past that compound that QODEX was holding, knowing that QODEX would be leaving that building and there wasn't really going to be too much threat from them. QODEX sends out wide, but for MADBULLS, they know exactly where they're going. They head towards that ditch, they drop the smokes down, they clear the western side downhill, and then wait for those teams on the eastern side with the compounds to start to mash together a little bit more. And with how well they cleared that western side, it was just that timing which was extremely powerful from them in those last moments to take it to the guys of VP as well as GK first, just crippling both those teams and waiting just long enough, John, for them to take each other out in the process.
I mean, we kind of didn't really see this amount of strength from MADBULLS prior to this phase, but they have come into phase 3 and they are ready for the finals, and nobody is ready for them. It is absolutely on point. I mean, Pokemolodoy seems to have revolutionized their style and done so much work with that team, because, as you say, they've done their homework and they are making everybody else look like absolute scrubs.
I did not know that the first 2.5 weeks here, or the 2.5 phases of PMPL, would be normal mode, and then it went into hard mode, heroics, with MADBULLS just popping off. I honestly don't know what there is to say about them that we haven't said already. What is with this team? The amount of chicken dinners they've gotten, they have to almost be 100 points ahead of teams by now.
So I have 2 theories in mind right now. Or we're stuck in a time loop and we keep seeing the same game the MADBULLS keep winning over and over and over again, or they're pretty good at getting chicken dinners. It's one or the other. Currently, I am thinking we're currently stuck in a time loop because I've never seen something remotely close to this, and that's why we predict them. Again, I mean, yeah, there's nothing to analyze. I think we said everything we have to say about MADBULLS by now, so I don't know what to add. Yeah, they're good.
They were even in a good position as that next circle, I think circle 4 or 5 pops, and then they just send it straight away to a small, tiny plateau in the circles, and are able to play from there. It's just, again, great understanding of how the map works. Go on, Max.
So, no, I want to let you finish your point, but I just checked right now the map feed again. There were 8 teams in total south of the circle when it shifted north. They were the lowest team, like they were the furthest down south, and there's one team that goes ahead of everyone else. It's MADBULLS. Instantly, eyes on the money, going for the circle. It's the speed and the decision making is insane.
I'm honestly not sure what to say about them anymore, considering I don't think I've ever seen 5 wins out of 6 games. What did you say about that?
Wow.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know at this rate. It's just becoming a bit of a meme here. I mean, you were even going to pick VIRTUS.PRO at one point because you wanted to pick differently, and we're like, just, you know, MADBULLS are going to win this. And you're like, all right. And I kind of regret saying it because we would be tied in our predictions. But at the end of the day, MADBULLS just making this lobby look too easy. I actually just want to head into what you were saying before, Max. You're talking about, you know, the rotation they did, and we'll hopefully get into it actually right after this instead of looking at their stats, because it was kind of a ridiculous transition. Like, we didn't really expect them to be able to get in so smoothly, and I think the difficult part was once they got there, it's not like their job got any easier. It's not like they had a godly position that no one could dislodge them from. They had to basically fend off so many other teams rotating around them, and I think teams realized, oh, this is MADBULLS, we should probably go around and not try to contest them here, because
if there's a team in the center circle that is moving faster than you, it's probably MADBULLS, and you probably want to stay away from them as much as you can, which I think a lot of teams did too. And the moment the circle also shifted to the eastern side after they made it in that little dip position you mentioned, Jason, there was only SHOCKWAVE on the west. You clear away SHOCKWAVE, all the other teams, they're going to fight each other on the eastern side. Just let them fight, pick up the pieces at the end, because you still have a 4-man team. It's an effective strat that we see them doing again and again and again. You can see here, like, these teams are fighting on the east. Great, it makes sense, but then do you have the manpower to take a fight versus MADBULLS? In most scenarios, you don't. And MADBULLS are they're just better when it comes to taking those fights, and I mean, can't deal with it.
prior to the send through to that position, you know, Shockwave, the team that you're mentioning, they were in what is effectively a pretty high-profile compound for the previous circle. So if they're sending it there, knowing that there probably will be a team there, it's the perfect location to be able to have line of sights on that compound, shut them down, and clear out the West. Yeah.
Well, you know what? We're talking about this this like rotation they made. Let's go ahead and throw it up on your screen so we can do a quick little replay here of exactly what went down. And Max, you were saying before, and hopefully this lines up perfectly with what we want to talk about, the amount of teams that they had around them, MADBULLS, that they had to rotate through and then stay alive through was not easy whatsoever. And I still don't know how they don't get punished more. I know we had one player get knocked and we saw some problems there. You can see here, this is like right when they started rotating through. Look at all those.
And even a few seconds before, I think they were even further south. I think they were south of Nexus at one point. And you have 8 teams. And it just goes to show how far ahead of the competition they are, because all of these teams do a similar rotation. Like, they're just like, okay, we're going to send in a circle. But the small amount of time that it takes for MADBULLS to start executing on that decision-making is what allows them to get in that position. And as you said earlier, Jason, to start like pushing teams away, gatekeeping that position. And they just set up a fort for themselves. Like, the fort is MADBULLS. They are a moving fort right now. And if you get close, you're going to get lasered. So, yeah, the speed is mental.
And this is actually like like you said before, a little bit ahead, ideally where we wanted to show, because of MADBULLS, they're already in their cars. The fact is, when that zone popped, they started to move. And let's go ahead and play this out here, and you can just see they full send it past all of these teams to get into their position. And I'm not sure if we'll actually have the parts after when they get there, but it's not like it was easy for them to survive at Colaris. Like, all those teams south eventually had to come north, and they had to kind of be this turret, this like stalwart defender to maintain this spot here and not lose.
It's a very clear objective for them when they make this decision quickly. I mean, you're watching as all the other teams are in cars, and technically some are moving pretty rapidly, but the other half are just not, kind of dawdling about a little bit. And when you need to be able to send it with this kind of hard shift, you better be decisive. You better be quick on this move, because they got there first. You see QODEX is still all, for the most part, in their cars, and they have to scramble because MADBULLS has got to their spot first and is firing them down.
Yeah, and when you're looking at how the other teams were rotating, as you said, some were pretty quick. Respect to QODEX, that was a very effective rotation. It was good. But I have the impression it's also down to map knowledge. Like, I feel like MADBULLS knew, oh, we know exactly what position we're going to go to. You got that small dip on that position that is super, super strong if you can hold on to it. Let's go to there. And then you have QODEX on the side. I think they're just like, let's get in a circle and see what happens afterwards. And that just small change of also knowledge on the map terrain does make a pretty big difference and allows them to reach 8.22 average limbs, it seems also.
I do wish we were able to focus on other teams, but it's impossible right now, Jason.
It really is. And it's not like we want to keep, it's not like we're being paid by MADBULLS to talk about them. It's just that's how much better they've been this phase than any other team out there. And this team, just we haven't seen anyone be able to contest in a head-on-head firefight. We haven't even been able to see teams beat them when they have a man advantage against MADBULLS. They are just playing perfectly. The positions they're playing are extremely well. They're also, I think, kind of baiting and playing off each other's angles like we saw in Sanhok, right? You talked about, I think it was Monkey laying down behind the ridge, pops up, helps eliminate a player while his teammate was being shot. And then also the decision-making. We didn't get to see it in that replay, but they are so quick to make those decisions, because in the replay we showed you, like you said, Colaris, there was like 3 or 4 other teams in vehicles. But what you don't see right before that happened is that MADBULLS was in their cars a good 10, 15 seconds before any other team, because they knew we have to make this play happen. And when you can be that fast and making a decision, that is a sign of.
I guess there's the potential that the only time we don't predict them today is in the game that they're not in. This is.
Just pick them anyways.
Oh, you know what? I'm predicting them even in that game. Yeah, they're somehow still gonna win. Insane stuff. Well, we do have another map coming up. It's going to be over to Miramar. So obviously a heavier amount of our focus should be on Death Machine and ARB champs, since they will be going head-to-head in Picado. Again, 2 teams fighting for a chance to make it into our finals. And it's going to be a battle that will not only happen today, but of course tomorrow as well, since they're sitting there in the same group. So we're going to actually get into our next match with John on a blank once again.
Goodness me, MADBULLS will not stop, and everybody else is just trying to pick up those pieces. I mean, the desk said it perfectly. We want to focus on other teams. We want to tell the stories of pretty much everybody in this lobby, right? But it is just not possible when MADBULLS keep doing it. How will they keep getting away with this? They can't, surely.
I don't know, John. At this point in time, it's very difficult to catch up with this team. 290 points so far, by the way, on the phase, which is quite disgusting, to say the least. So they still have a big chance to kind of set more records here in Western Europe, and this might be something that will be insurmountable for quite some time coming to the future. It's a little bit unfortunate for me, at least. You know, we have this new phase system, and already in the very first tournament, you have a team who just completely blows everyone out the water. Then how do you catch up to that?
I mean, I'm kind of, I like it, but I'm kind of annoyed that their phase 2 wasn't as standout, right? Because I mean, I said from the start, what I really wanted to see was a team get the maximum bonus points, right? And MADBULLS, they won that first phase. They're going to, let's be honest, they're going to win this phase as well. But coming 6th in that phase 2, it's so annoying because they're going to drop, what is that, for finishing 6th? They'll drop about 4 or 5 points from that 80 total, and you know, it's gonna disappoint me a little bit. But you know what? I'm gonna live with it, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to live with it as well, because they should be far and away ahead of pretty much everybody else in this lobby as well, with teams like VIRTUS.PRO, teams like PIONER not having as strong of a week. To be fair, VIRTUS.PRO is still in 3rd.
Yeah, not doing too badly for themselves. Again, it's just that case of like, they really do pump up their position in just terms of the amount of placement points they're able to get every single game. Now for MADBULLS, if we lock this out right now, and we showed this yesterday on the pre-show, if we lock this out right now, they'd be heading into the finals with a whopping 74 bonus points total, which I think is just going to be their bonus points now going forward. It's going to be very difficult for any team to catch them up going forward. Again, we talk about how consistent this team is. Teams would just really beneath them have to show us something that we've never ever seen before. And for MADBULLS at the moment, they just look so damn clean. How do you, I don't know, man. I'm just absolutely flabbergasted, because I find it kind of funny, sad, John, and I find it kind of sad, because this is just a MADBULL world at the moment.
Goodness me, it is putting everything on the spin, and it's taking a lot of points away from a lot of other teams. I mean, that's kind of also the secondary impact of this. Not only are MADBULLS breaking records here, I mean, they've tied Na'Vi for 6 chicken dinners in a phase already with today and another day left to play. So they've still got, what is it, 6 games in the back pocket. They're looking to break the record that they set for phase 1 total score at 306. They're at 290 right now, again, with 6 more matches to play. They are out for blood, but they're taking those points from somewhere else. Where are those points going to come from? Well, hang on a minute. This is something that we might have changed up here. Jamaz, not in Picardo, Blank.
No, he's not in Picardo, and I think there's one hope at the moment is that no one has guns at the moment for them. So there is a UMP, but doubtful that they'll hit those shots at this range. He's going back in. He sees the vehicle come backing around, but he really needs some help from his teammates now.
Oh, you lose that drop. You get a pan. I mean, you have to hide. Athos probably going to come back with backup. He's going to try and leave. And there he is. There's the pickup. Amodi is there. But that means ARB, they haven't dropped Picardo, Blank.
No, and I mean, this is something that actually Max was able to chat with the guys earlier today, saying that we actually was talking with Wodeus, asking him why do they continually drop in Picardo, because it's not working for them now. Yes, they get some points here and there, but more often than not, they're losing that engagement to Death Machine, or vice versa, or even Death Machine walks away with 2 players. Yes, this will mean that Death Machine has a more comfortable start, but I think it's much better on the cards for Arabian champions not to drop here. And they mentioned that this is something that they're going to look to continue doing forward, which I currently I'm very pleased about. I'm still quite blown away and shocked by the performance of MADBULLS, so I'm not quite as elated as I probably would be seeing that they've not dropped one another again.
Yeah, it's kind of, everything else is overshadowed just that little bit. And I was just going to bring it back a little bit to the points and where they're kind of coming from, because it seems to me like they have just gouged out those 2nd down to 8th positions pretty heavily in terms of the points that they have schlurped on up towards that top side, which gives a lot of volatility in that sort of, well, the 5th through pretty much 11th positions, very, very volatile for this phase's positions, as well as the 2nd to 4th positions. There's very, very easy ladder ups to be had around that sort of area. So it's going to be exciting to see how that sort of finishes in terms of those bonus points. But my God, they are absolutely on fire. And I can't really think about anything else, Blank. It's very difficult to tear my mind away from it.
Yeah, even though it does make those points towards the bottom quite volatile and maybe allow some other teams to potentially stand up, you just don't want to come under the cosh of MADBULLS either, because they would just tear you apart and leave you on the roadside in a lot of these games. Zerish on the other side of this cliff face, also scouting out Tixi. Make sure he looks over that way to scout out if there's any other players here.
I mean, there is. There's Tixi. That vehicle, I think, is just hidden from Zerich. They haven't spotted each other just yet. Na'Vi with a very fast south outpost in Tixi then. That's going to allow their south rotation into this circle. Probably going to see at least a little bit of a fight between MADBULLS and Na'Vi. Whether it concludes their games or not remains to be seen. Death Machine, they're wondering what's happened. They don't know what to do. Blank, they have no idea. It's chaos in Picado because there's nobody to fight. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, they are massively confused by this one. They don't know where any of Arabian champions are. They're preparing for a fight. They have absolute adrenaline flowing through the veins. Zerish going down, though. Bad news for MADBULLS, especially with this circle heading up towards that northwest side in El Pozo. For Zerish to go down now and be, quite honestly, fairly unresable, life's difficult. Skills might go for the hero play, for the challenge, but Tixi should see this coming.
They win the high ground, but you do need to be careful. Even if you do see this coming, taking a fight, and if you get knocked on that high ground, it's likely you're not going to get rezzed here. Skills repositioning for it, though. And they do want to find out if they can pick this one up. Na'Vi not really in a position to stop it as Skills starts the climb, the clamber, the spider buggy up the side.
That's the move up. Always funny seeing that one. And I mean, Skills at least puts himself in a position where he's hidden from Tixi, but Zerish is bleeding out quickly now. So the hero play has to come in quick. The cape gets thrown around Zerish, gives him some comfort. And now he should be just fine. So this is a good save coming through from Skills. Allows the team to regroup. They know that they're better as 4, and they're able to take this one to the enemy teams in full-on team fights. Great spray down from Tixi, though. Zerish kind of does allow this to happen, but something that he was maybe not expecting.
60 still suppressing the position. This is a lot of time used by MADBULLS as well on a circle where it zones to them, and they could be using this time to establish control over a different area, try and get that spread that we know them for. So Tixi doing a lot of work to allow Na'Vi a chance on that northern side, but really can't afford to take these challenges, especially now not 2v1.
For Tixi, he has to kind of take the same consideration that he gave to Zerish, right? Is that this is a horrible spot to be knocked in and does change up your rotational path and how you're going to play the next few minutes in terms of players having to come res you. How do you now get down? You have to commit to this side of the circle. Luckily for MADBULLS, this is dead central, so movement shouldn't be too much of a problem.
QODEX next to Ruthless near power grid. Positions aware, I think both teams are aware of teams nearby, but no one really going for that fight just yet. You can see Ruthless has a little bit of a flank there, but Death Machine are moving in from that southeast. They've been allowed to leave Picado without being challenged. They should be very, very looted there. ARB, having left that position, near Hacienda right now, on that northeastern side, you can see them near Game Lord, near Unicorns of Love. Unicorns of Love having fallen off just a little bit over these last couple of days. Haven't really been seeing what we want from them. The circle shifts out west, and so that western area could prove to be a little bit of sanctuary for teams that want to swing over the north.
Yeah, very open as well. Pioneer happy to take this one up. We'll just move along that western road towards El Pozo, maybe try and find themselves a position. And not a huge amount of compounds here, which are just bastions of Sanctuary anymore. So a lot of these teams will have to figure out where they want to play next. El Pozo on the edge side, MADBULLS would be happy to play that. Question is where they want to take up position, maybe down towards that southwest side of El Pozo or even on the hills, try and get some high ground advantage. ARB currently between Unicorns and Love. Now, for Unicorns and Love, usually I would say that they are a better team than ARB. However, Unicorns and Love kind of lose all semblance of capability when it comes to rotating alongside another team. For some reason, that really does shake them up just a little bit too much.
ARB swinging through, picking up some more vehicles, straighten that one out. I imagine it might have been out of fuel there, didn't quite catch the gauge, but into the buggy. And looking for spot on this northeastern side. Unicorns of Love will be running into ARB over there. Death Machine at the moment corralled themselves into their compound close to QODEX. Not really anyone fighting them for it right now.
Not a bad spot. Money King gets ahead of the game, ahead of the curve here as well into this position. Knows that they're close to the circle too. Death Machine has to move their way in. They're dead central at the moment, ahead of QODEX, so don't have to move too much, don't have to peek too much either. However, there is a very, very nasty team towards their northwest side in MADBULLS, who might be able to take some shots. Currently, ARB still pinched between the Unicorns of Love.
Runner, this is a replay. Getting sprayed down by Beast from Big. On the high ground, a nice spot for Big, but they are right on that south side. MUERTE, again, another team that has kind of fallen off. We saw them have a fairly disastrous day yesterday, only 4 points. We haven't really seen anything from them today worthy of note, although to be fair, the focus has been gained by MADBULLS from pretty much everything else. So I'll have to go back and double check, but it seems like we aren't seeing the MUERTE that we had in Phase 2.
But not indeed. I think for MUERTE, things have really dropped off a lot for them. Pioneer currently going against Big. It's a fight that used to take place a lot of times down towards Chumacera, and really no one got the better of it until a little bit later on in Phase 2 when Pioneer were clearly the champions of that. But now down to just 2 players. Pioneer, another team that just isn't really driving our expectations.
He takes a bit of damage from the nade, but it will be okay, recoverable. Although that's a position known for Pioneer. They want to put more in, and this time a little bit further to the right, close on the rock, and realize there's no one there to take the damage. Reposition comes on through. A little bit of a disengage potentially, but Mazzaro wants a little bit more. Spray over towards Black-White. It's good. Gets the knock out in the open. That should be an easy flush. And Big open up a door for them and leave only Havlik remaining for Pioneer. Spraying open onto the bike. It's very, very fast. Kind of difficult to hit those sprays for the tracking, and it's dangerous ground to go for as well. Trying to hit the bike now, but he makes it to cover on no tires.
Yeah, that is awkward stuff there. So the bullet's just dipping a little bit low. The bike is horrific to ride on in those terms of moments, because the hitbox is a little bit large quite a lot of times, so when you're rotating in that vehicle, it is very easy to spray it down, but at that distance, slightly more difficult, even with the just straight trajectory that he sent as well. Circle, heavy down towards that southwest side, and MADBULLS are already making their move out. 4 Romanian men. They had this done to them earlier by Big, and are ready to hold the roadblock themselves.
XTEAM losing a lot of momentum there. They did fall back into last place after that last game. ARB were able to earn enough points, stay alive long enough to get themselves over that marker. So XTEAM once again in danger of getting a 4-point bonus total over the course of the whole thing. Not going to qualify, most likely, at this stage for the finals, but still, that would be the minimum possible number of points. And I won't keep going on about them too long, because they really aren't doing too much in this lobby.
The MUERTE classic spot. We've seen them take this up before and do some pretty good work with it, but Na'Vi now challenging MADBULLS. This is one of the biggest fights that we'll see in this lobby in a while, because this is one of the teams that we think could maybe bring down the Titans of MADBULLS themselves. Zerish falls.
Will get knocked on out. There's an answer. Over towards Matic. Na'Vi. MADBULLS moving ahead. Again, jumping in front of the queue. Trying to take a position out on that west. Na'Vi struggling really to hold out on that west as well. They will need to hold out against ARB and QODEX. Tricky, but they do have position and already entrenched themselves in those areas.
Be coming in strong here. Hamo able to get the Mini 14 towards Meku and losing players, and that is the kind of blessing that you get if you're MADBULLS. If you can get ahead of the rest in El Pozo, everyone has to flow around that northwest side, so you get this massive traffic jam happening on that north edge right now. Meku, very difficult to get this boy back up in action with the amount of open ground between him and his teammates, so we're most likely looking at a two-team Na'Vi, and maybe they'll just be saved by the rest of the teams coming in from that north, only just breaching the circle now.
Kitsune spots a buggy and wants to take out a couple of those tires. Hamper, Unicorns a lot further process. The circle goes down south. Eastern Stars taken out on the southeast side. Pioneer only have Havlik across that road. He made that mad dash on the bike there, but the MADBULLS want to take that position from him on the west of the road. Looks like they will be able to do so. Immediately just rolling up effect, not even stopping there. On the roll down, Hamo struggling for ARB, and they are taken down on that northern side as well. Na'Vi still haven't managed to get that res through, and Meku is still ticking away. Game Lord potentially moving in.
Yeah, time is running thin here for Meku because that little window of opportunity for them where the teams were pushing in was fantastic. Akashi, maybe he goes for the shots here, but no, we'll just relay the information back over towards Kitsune. That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, you need to get that res. You said it there. The time of the circle moving is really, really close, and you need to get back and heal, get into zone. You know, Game Lord are going to be healing as well. They've allowed them to get in front, but can they use that time, that window where Game Lord are going to be healing to press that advantage?
I mean, no vehicles. Tixie just has to make the sprint on foot whilst the rest of the team in the back start to move up with their buggies, but instantly they send away. Victor, Rob's out. Kashi and Narvalo still go. MADBULLS moved down from that western side, cleared even that compound as well on the heavy west where Pioneer was holding. Now the western side is fairly clear other than the teams coming from that north. So overall, a good push from MADBULLS. And again, it's that getting ahead of the pack. Even though they lost that one player, they were quick to disengage with Na'Vi, understanding the actual value of getting down towards the circle.
Do you think there's a pact not to predict MADBULLS on the desk? I feel like there might be. Because, I mean, to be fair, they were on that west side before. They, as you say, they cleared, they pushed across. They are 3, and there are some oversights to it, but the Unicorns of Love really haven't had the oomph that's needed to take on a team like MADBULLS. They will have to fend off Game Lord and Na'Vi pushing in from the north side. So I feel like MADBULLS have a good spot here, depending on where the next circle shifts, but could prove to be tricky if they have to leave.
Well, you see, John, I don't think they've got a good spot in the circle because it's central, and everybody knows that these circles do not go central. So the Death Machine prediction coming through from Kalaris, we get a northeast shift, which is, you know, quite likely sometimes. This could be good for them. Meku, though, able to spot effect, and will take him down as well. So 2 players now for MADBULLS left alive.
All right, maybe their run could be ended here, but there are still 2 of them. Skills and Monkey for the MADBULLS. Nexus being hampered by Striker from the MUERTE, who again, we said we haven't seen too much from them in these last couple of days, in this phase. It hasn't been the same team that we've seen before. Maybe they're going to be able to perform here on Miramar, give us that confidence back in their squad. Na'Vi on the western side with 3, still yet to cross the road. They're taking up the position that MADBULLS had before.
So I might say, you know, this is where they kind of started their big strikeout in terms of points gaining. It was on Miramar where they were able to get themselves a few wins, a few podium finishes, and then the confidence kind of skyrocketed from there. They looked a lot stronger. They looked a lot cleaner. Unfortunately, recent times, it just hasn't quite been able to translate. Circle on the southwest edge, the road, the valley in place, horrible position. So this west and east side becomes very prevalent. For the MADBULLS, they're actually a little bit safer here. There's only one compound on the east, and now Na'Vi can have the challenge for either side. It might be a case that that northwest compound is left for Na'Vi, and they would rather hold on the southwest, which is just a little bit more in the circle.
It seems like that's the move they're going to make. The southwest side, more favorable to them, stay as a 3. They know everybody in the east is going to try and push across if they can. They just want to stay alive, outlast this storm that is coming. Monkey spraying down towards the MUERTE, slowing down the vehicles. Monkey landing those shots. The Striker succumbs to it. Dadaev gets across, gets up to the wall as well. The flush onto Striker. MADBULLS pick up the points when they can. Ingush, though, is in with Groza in hand. Devastating close range. Ingush around the side. Cannot win the challenge, though, and Monkey gets the better end of the deal. UMP in those close quarters also dishes out a whole load of damage. That first push is disrupted. Then MUERTE down.
And this is the thing, is that most players expect in that situation where you get in the room for the other player to just take that third-party advantage and just try and watch out for them as they move through. Instead, Monkey just pushes it to the limit, walks right round the side and puts the bullets in his face. So very, very difficult to deal with a player like that who just makes the unpredictable happen, even though they know it's coming.
MADBULLS fending off against NEXUS. Unicorns of Love trying to take the fight over the ridgeline, but NEXUS are pushing onto skills. Can they bring the MADBULLS run to an end? 3 players are there, and they will do so. MADBULLS finally out of the lobby for the first time in what seems like forever. Unicorns of Love fending off on that northern side, and Na'Vi just hunkering down on that west, trying to take as much damage away from those enemy teams. You force them to use that smoke utility to go for those crashes, stop them from having that pressure later in the game.
I mean, even so, MADBULLS there fended off against multiple teams. And it looked even dicey for NEXUS moving in with a nice nade, pitched out the window, which took down one of the players on the approach. Unfortunately, Monkey going down, that's your off angle over. And then for skills, things do get very complicated from there, in which case we see that firsthand with NEXUS able to pick up the remaining elimination. Still 7 points in the game, not bad overall. Happy for Death Machine. 3 players left for them. This might be a good chance for them to continue to extend that lead for themselves and maintain that 16th place spot, as tomorrow it will be decided who goes into those finals. And for Death Machine, you know, it's do or die right now.
Was it Max who predicted Unicorns of Love?
I believe so, yes.
I think it might have been. I know there was one. But the Unicorns of Love have a pretty tricky push here, and NEXUS going to try and slow them down a whole hell of a lot. A nade over the top finds Octavian from MoneyKen. And there's more still to come. Right on the edge of the blue zone, cannot afford it. There's some nade over the top to answer back, but it doesn't actually spot out MoneyKen. They don't know exactly where he is. Maybe they don't believe that he can be on that ridge. They think it was a little bit deeper, certainly thinking so. Redox wants to put nades down range as well. Unicorns of Love swept aside, so no prediction from Max this time. He was on a run. I think he got quite a few of them right so far. But that won't go super quickly. I mean, he predicted MADBULLS twice, right? So you can't really blame him. But this time around, not so lucky. Now it's Na'Vi on the western side, still holding out. Take Aim Gaming, who could potentially move up to this roadside if they can get rid of NEXUS.
For Na'Vi, this actually works out quite nicely because there's a lot of this western area of the map still in play, and that circle really does not favor that roadside too much. So for Haj, moving down becomes difficult. Death Machine also looking to cause pain towards NEXUS. Unfortunately, able to find anything there. We'll just go for the res instead. Now Tixie moves up to see if he can find the other team that might be moving through after hearing those shots. 13 eliminations so far for NEXUS. Really good stuff coming through from them.
Not entirely sure about the commitment to the res there. They were outside of the zone. No way you can pick them up in phase 6. Either way, Death Machine down. Na'Vi now hold against the first part of the cross from NEXUS as they swing around out wide into the party bus. The rest of the team try and mount up. 3 players in here. Dangerous stuff coming through from NEXUS, but you've got to make this play. They get around the headland, and Take Aim Gaming are left on the other side of the road. Na'Vi now with the threat out on their north.
They really do have to start pushing the pressure down towards Nexus, because Take Aim Gaming don't have angles towards Nexus. They did a good job. The other two to actually be able to halt the push coming through from Take Aim Gaming. Unfortunately, Nexus have the right idea of it to eliminate that angle on the roadside and instead sweep the team that's playing on the west. Smart stuff.
Sine and Meku. 2 players now for Na'Vi, held at the edge of the circle at this stage. Take Aim Gaming with the only foot on the right hand, on the east of the road. If the circle shifts out that way, could pay dividends for them. And they're moving up in the valley with Na'Vi severely diminished as well. It's a little bit easier for them.
Na'Vi is just about playing turrets now. This is the main thing that they have to accomplish, but Meku going that low is quite bad, but they really do need the desperate attempt now from Take Aim Gaming to come in and attract that attention from Nexus so that Na'Vi can regroup, but that is a good off angle from Meku. Whilst he's distracted, this might be a good opportunity. Now they need to turn their attention towards Take Aim Gaming now and hopefully take down at least a player on the backstop there as well.
Just try and force these teams to fight against one another. Meku picks up that point for Na'Vi. Already in 3rd place, 4 eliminations, a good game for them, but there's another knock over towards Take Aim Gaming. This is probably one of the better scenarios for Na'Vi because they have to push towards Take Aim Gaming in this next circle. If they can swing around, find Mind, they're going to have a lot of power here, but the res came through from Take Aim Gaming almost immediately.
And this is why they had to play that split beforehand. They needed to force this fight between these two teams. You can see Meku looking to still put the pressure down towards Nexus. Not to get too many eliminations, but to continue to force them into the sidelines of Take Aim Gaming. Unfortunately, Nexus is not able to find anything on towards Take Aim Gaming. Yes, this is now looking more likely to be one of those 2nd places for Na'Vi, but that's exactly what they wanted to see.
Finding those shots over towards Toffees from Take Aim Gaming out on the road. Going to take a while before he's in a resible position, but Meku falls to Redox. A nade down the hill takes a little bit of damage. Meku not going to get flushed. Protected by Take Aim Gaming on the side swipe, but they still have 3 active. And Kitsune is on the open hillside and will be felled by Take Aim Gaming. Now just Octavian stand between Take Aim Gaming and taking the chicken dinner here. Run down potentially to come through, but it's picked away by the bullets from the M4. Take Aim Gaming cross the road. They sweep away Nexus. Na'Vi cannot force that fight to happen in the right way, and Take Aim Gaming from the roadside take the chicken dinner.
Yeah, outliving that storm was really difficult. They had to find some kind of shelter, and it was beneficial towards them in the first place, where it headed over towards that western side. Again, I think they did a good job. Tixi, unfortunately, falling early is really the nail that landed in the coffin there for Na'Vi. He did a fantastic job to keep Nexus at bay for as long as he did, but needed to kind of regroup with the rest of his team once Take Aim Gaming had made that cross. Again, still trying to push them to fight one another for a long, long time, but as soon as that circle shifts down towards the roadside, Na'Vi can't play that little ridge on the top side of the western side, have to actually move down, which causes some major issues as Take Aim Gaming and Nexus slowly but surely will encroach on their position. 16 points though, still good. Redox for Nexus will take 10-21, so not bad in terms of damage, but Nexus, I think, taking that side of the map was smart in the first place, but they had to sweep Na'Vi quicker. I think not being able to take them all the way towards the west side is kind of a credit to Na'Vi being very good at what they were doing. Unfortunately for Nexus, it did spell their doom.
The road river was forded by Take Aim Gaming. Nexus tried their best, but their boots filled with water, and they were dragged down to the depths. Na'Vi seeing to that one, but Take Aim Gaming with the chicken dinner.
Yeah, big win for them. And finally, we get someone to break the strings of constant wins out of MADBULLS here, taking their ratio down a little bit. But a big win here for Tag. Again, nice little rotate as well. And from that south-hand side to come in towards the south of the circle as well. But you see 27 points, though, coming in for Nexus. So even though they can get the chicken dinner, 15 limbs is definitely what helped carry them through.
I mean, Nexus in this game were clearly serving as the barrage over on the eastern side. They had a really good high ground position, and all the teams were just trying to feed into that position because these circles were very big hardship. It was west, west, west almost every single time. So if you're on the east and you have a high ground position, which is what Nexus had, unfortunately, you're going to be meeting your end very, very quickly. So yeah, good move from Nexus, and also breaching on top of MADBULLS, not an easy breach. So yeah, Nexus able to put up a little bit of a fight here, get those 15 limbs, but Take Aim Gaming, that roadside position on the ridge was just a little bit too strong to deal with.
Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, yes, there's no water involved in a circle like this or whatever, but it is one of the harshest circles we've had on Miramar for quite a while. This first circle centered east of Monte Nuevo, and then we end as west as you possibly could. So for all of these teams, and I felt like some of the teams were trying to even gatekeep those wide rotations to those western locations because of how west it was, which is always a decent strategy, to be honest with you. A lot of wide wraps can easily happen in circles like this, and you can just shut them down quite quickly.
Yeah, so unfortunate times. I'm actually curious. Do you think if Na'Vi had, well, you're talking about if the zone was going a different direction, would Na'Vi have had a better time or a better chance of winning? Or maybe I heard that backwards. I kind of wanted you to go into that a little bit because obviously the zones do affect your chance quite heavily.
Yeah, I mean, they were 3 alive towards the end, right? Any opportunity for them to try and make something of this game later, if they have to cross that road and it goes east or whatever, it's very difficult to account for. So the hard shifts definitely played in their favor for sure, to be able to get just as high as they did.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, you have 2 other compounds over on the eastern side of the road too, so even if you do have to make that cross because of the circles not going your way, it's harder because if you're going to the east or the west, you have that ridge to play, which is what Tag did. You don't really have that much of a ridge if you're going from west to east, and that's a way tougher transition. So yeah, and as you said, with not a full squad, I think it would have been a lot tougher, but still good moves from Na'Vi. I do think that they should have really made sure that Nexus and Tag were not able to cross the road. The moment they do, it's going to be hotly contested. So I think that should have been the initial plan, is to make sure that you just laser down every team's trying to make the cross happen. And then, as you saw, they take the fight versus Nexus to get third-partied by Tag, and then they just don't take themselves that first place chicken dinner. So it was a good attempt, but as you say, here, Redox, they get the push, they get the angle. Na'Vi just can't hold it down.
I do want to bring something up because we're obviously talking about Na'Vi, Nexus, and Tag quite a bit. What about ARB Champs and Death Machine? Because we didn't have a fight at Picado.
But yeah, it did not work out for ARB. They got 1 point. So the idea is there, respectable as it is. I do like it. Death Machine made it a little bit further in that game. So, and ARB are still in 17th position, I believe, in the overall ranking. So the idea is good, but the execution followed up with that. And because they never played outside of Picado, I think also hurt them quite a bit. So it's a tough decision, but this game in particular didn't quite work out.
Yeah, it's tough because once you actually change drop spot, actually rotation paths are so different, so much harder. If you're in a lobby like this and you're used to Team A or Team B rotating next to you, you know the potential threat if they're even going to shoot at you from cars, etc. and things like that. But once you change, there's so many things to change than just dropping in a spot like that.
Yeah, well, you know what? They still have some more chances at least. At least they're showing the willingness to change, realizing we have to make some plays happen right now. And speaking of plays, Tag made some plays here. So we're going to dive into their player stats from this last match, get an idea of who was really popping off for their team. And it's going to be Annalise here with the 653 damage, but not when it comes to a limbs, as Mind and Happy J pick it up.
Happy J. Yeah, Happy J actually, I mentioned this I think a few weeks ago, that he actually also qualified for the Bali event in December. So I'm really happy to see him be up there. I've always thought that Take Aim Gaming was a team that I would see way high up in the rankings. I feel like they've had a little bit of a lackluster performance in actually all phases, I would say, right now. So it's good to see a little bit of a step up here in this game. I think they were willing to take a little bit more control, which I think is what they lacked in the past. But it's just one game. I want to see more, but it's a good start from here.
Yeah, good start. I mean, obviously, you qualifying to the Valley event is massive for him, and he has a chance to grow as an individual player, and hopefully the team can continue to grow from that as well. But, you know, 600 damage done for Annalise. Nice to see Toffees as well here with the 2 limbs at the very end. At least it was a team effort coming through. And another team effort we did see, obviously, was out of Nexus. So I wanted to actually take a look at Nexus up against Tag, get an idea of how the 2 teams did comparatively, as we obviously saw Nexus came out with the more points.
A very heavy team effort coming out from Nexus. I mean, the position that they have, they came kind of late to the circles, if I'm totally honest with you, with their rotation all the way from that southeast. And when you're doing that, when you're having to go up and down these hills south of La Drillera, etc., it is a little bit fraught with danger. So not only do I think that they were good in their firefights, but also they were very impressive in being able to get to the position in the first place, I want to say.
Yeah, I think they actually, obviously, Nexus, we know, is an extremely strong team. Obviously, with Octavian coming up to the roster as well. We haven't really been able to talk much about them. I know they've had a couple of wins here or there, and I think, to be fair, if I remember correctly, have had some pretty decent wins when it comes to like eliminations to back it up. But it always makes me wonder, Max, like why can't they replicate this kind of performance more consistently? When you see teams get this amount of eliminations, you know they can fight, you know they can handle the battles, but for some reason it hasn't really been working out for NEXUS's way.
Because MADBULLS have been getting too many wins, it's hard to contest. Again, I'm going to start.
That's the kind of hard-hitting analysis that I look
exactly.
for when it comes to man.
But no, I think that, as we saw already heading into the season, this is a roster that also had some pretty big roster changes, right? Bringing in Dorian for the team, Octavian also, there was an old player from Eastern Stars. Like, I think it took some time to get to the point where they were comfortable, and knowing also the personality of a lot of these players, I know a lot of them are a little bit stubborn, and I think that is sometimes can clash a little bit internally with the team in communications, how you try and build up synergy. I feel like they have showed some improvements over every single phase, right? I think they definitely feel a lot better now when it comes to their mentality and their team play. Maybe we could still expect a little bit more from them, but I think that definitely when it comes to attitude, it does seem like they're a lot more comfortable in their position.
Thing is, like, we know Romania is a very strong region. They have a lot of competitive teams and competitive players when it comes to PUBG Mobile, but I'm still waiting for that like Zeus to break through, for that Stalwart Esports to break through, to like really show like what the region has when it comes to competitive play. And unfortunately, it just hasn't been Eastern Stars, which we thought it might have been when we originally saw them come around, and it definitely hasn't been NEXUS.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I mean, with Eastern Stars kind of being middle of the pack right now, not quite having the success they would have in maybe a first game of each phase, etc., they're currently pretty close to where NEXUS is. That spot for their region as a whole is maybe up for grabs if this continues on. And having people like Octavian on your roster that knows very well how someone like Eastern Stars is going to play is great intel to be able to, potentially, if you meet them on the battlefield, probably take them down.
Yeah, I kind of wonder what happened to Dexter, because he was a guy back on NEXUS, I think like a year ago, actually, that we looked at quite heavily as being an extremely strong player. But you know what? Doesn't matter for now, because what matters is our fourth match of the day, which is coming up right now here with John Allen and Blake.
We're getting into match number 4, Blank. It is closing towards the end of the day, but we've still got 2 more to go, including this one. Sanhok back on the cards. We're ready to go back into the jungle.
Yes, we are indeed. I mean, right now, there are a few teams that maybe could step things up just a little bit. I think MUERTE, in particular here on Sanhok, with them being able to get their original drop spot down towards Sami, should be a team that we're looking at, considering they have fallen off quite a bit. And I think that, you have your double Sanhoks now. You have a double Sanhok tomorrow. Playing those 3 final Sanhoks really has to come in your favor, because if you don't pull up the performance now, coming into finals, that edge that you had on Sanhok and other maps, finals is really important. And losing that edge now is the worst thing in the world. You want to be able to have that nice, sharp, ready to go and not be a blunt instrument coming into those finals. Unless you're MADBULLS, in which case you are a blunt instrument, you are a hammer, a large hammer at that, and just absolutely slamming the opposition.
Mjolnir coming on through for MADBULLS. Seems like nobody else can lift them out of the way, although in that last game, they were taken down, but it took a combined effort of, I think, about 30% of the lobby to be able to do it. It was not easy for them, and they did pay the price. Effect, I mean, look at that. 63 eliminations. GK first on 44 in second place. That is incredible.
Well, he's pumping up those numbers massively right now, and I don't know if there's any player that can really catch up to him in terms of that MVP League stage. And I mean, it's deserved as well. I don't think anyone should be able to catch up to him now with the performance that he's putting in. Northwest Shift, Na'Vi need to figure out how they're going to regroup as fast as possible. This is one of those particular scenarios where I don't like that Confluence compound anymore. And I think a few times Na'Vi has maybe held on to this a little bit too long.
I mean, it's fine, but as you say, as long as Na'Vi do regroup for it, nobody's going to full send to the top just yet. You've got maybe a minute before people will start to think about maybe going for an early rotation, but for Na'Vi, seems like Tixi is going to move a little bit early up to that north side. Matic picking through a couple of those buildings maybe, and on his way will grab a couple more in the compounds on the southeast.
I mean, Big has been a bit of a headache at the moment for Na'Vi. I think that's one of the reasons I would suggest regrouping now, because it's something that's happened to them frequently, where a rogue member of Big has moved towards the top of the Northwest Island, as 2 sometimes found 1 and then just retreated back into the fold, which has then been a bit of a hurdle for Na'Vi to step over the top of, especially when you get these Northwest shifts where you are guaranteed a good game if you're a Northwest Island team. Yes, the majority of the other games are a little bit more difficult to navigate, but you get this one, you have a significant advantage over absolutely everyone else in the lobby, as you do get priority on those really good spots within that circle nice and early on. And with Eastern Stars not chilling on this side, not in this game, it does give Na'Vi a lot more opportunities and it becomes a bit more open for him to play with.
Shockwave, a team dropping split around Quarry right now. We'll have to make that move westward. ARB moving north of boot camp, going to go for the swim, it seems, not wanting to go for a river crossing up towards the north. They know Game Lord are most likely to be there. With Eastern Stars out, sure, there's no one hard tin, but still treacherous, difficult movements. Na'Vi will be controlling that confluence crossing, they'll be aware of that. And swinging out all the way to the west where you've got Take Aim Gaming, Ruins, and potentially even Big to worry about. Although Big, I don't think they're going to move all the way down south. It's still treacherous. So this is, I think this is the safest rotation for ARB.
Getting across here now is easy enough for them. Pioneer not being in boot camp, obviously being able to take up that position early as they usually do. Swift rotate across, and they understand a lot about what's going on at the moment. At least this team knows the groups properly, they know the positions that should be open, they know that teams shouldn't be across too early either. So this is giving Arabian Champions a really good head start in this game. MADBULLS, on the other hand, in Paradise Resort haven't moved as of yet. Typically tend to move quite late with these circles as well, rather playing off the back of the misfortune of teams on that Western Island.
Unicorns of Love up towards Cal. Again, not the best of luck for this squad. We saw them get fairly late. They had a decent spot, but the circle moved south on them, and they kind of got torn apart in that Miramar we just saw. And they weren't really able to put up too much of a fight. Hopefully more on this Sanhok. But they've got XTEAM to worry about on that eastern side. But maybe that's more of a blessing than a curse, because XTEAM have been not really strong at all in these gunfights. To be fair, they have come up more times than not against MADBULLS, so you can kind of forgive them their trespass there, but could prove to be a nice little booster if Unicorns can pick up that dub on the engagement, if they can find that. Effect spotted though, TJB, they've moved in and actually forcing Monkey to come all the way back. Can TJB swell this position before the backup arrives?
TJB getting up top towards this tree is really, really good. And again, this is where a lot of work gets done towards teams trying to leave Paradise Resort. For Effect, life becomes a little bit tricky, a little bit scary, but Vizerish just drops down on one knee, will lay in the bullets.
GK First is there for TJB, the heavy lifter, the forklift truck of the squad. And he is certainly qualified. Skills, though, taking down the rest of his team before they can turn attention. MADBULLS, sure, they've had 2 knocks, but TJB focusing on this res. They haven't even started to go for it. MADBULLS, in the meantime, have looked to get everybody back up. Now just 1 res left in the back pocket. Skills moves around wide, and TJB forced into their spot here. MADBULLS, they're going to be okay to stay here, to chill. They wanted to move just that little bit earlier, but as you say, they are more than used to playing against those teams moving in on misfortune.
For TJB, though, I think it's a really rough statement for MADBULLS to make against them, which is, yeah, you can get knocked onto us, but if you want to start trying to push on and finishing off those players, we're instead fighting fire with fire here. And I like that movement because they don't go full turtle mode. They don't just sit back in the shell. They will instantly start sending players out wide. And instead of, you know, defending the res, they'll make the enemy team defend reses of their own by getting some quick knocks because they know they are decent when it comes to those duels. Very, very well done.
More often than not. Nades over the top, back TJB off, and they think twice about it. Losing a player in that scenario where you have this position, as you say, one of the strongest spots for stopping teams leaving Paradise Resort, is not what you want to see from TJB, but when you're fighting MADBULLS, anything goes.
Yeah, it's a little bit rough. I mean, for TJB now moving on that northeast side, they would have liked to have got ahead. They were trying to rotate underneath MADBULLS. Now this kind of changes up their rotational path just slightly. It's maybe a dent in the plans that they were making going forward. GK First able to kind of redeem the team just a little bit there. The circle isn't too harsh, obviously does shift away, but that's mostly away from the water, so a lot of teams still able to hang on, hang fire, don't have to do too much. MUERTE, obviously, you can see them down towards the blue, alongside with Death Machine, Ruthless Esports, and VP, who are leaving very late from Camp Bravo.
Take Aim Gaming, Nexus, very, very close to one another. This is after their crossing, so is it a little bit of a crash here? ARB have vision on it as well from what they're. An outpost for the squad, currently sat fairly separated from the rest of the team. Shots over towards Nexus as well. You could see ARB, they made their crossing early, but a lot of teams have got into compounds ahead of them there, closer to those cliffs. Na'Vi still holding, but in the valley, you've got Take Aim Gaming taking up residence.
Na'Vi drops down below to try and give them a little bit more angles to work with. Team Doom making their way up this horrific hillside. This is a hillside that you can potentially make your way up if it's under the cover of a third party going on. Just trying to make your way up without any utility, just doing this dry is very, very painful indeed.
The nades, the cook was there, but Perks got that heal off and got to cover as well. Team Doom, they're making good progress right next to the door, but that nade's right in through the window. A lot of damage, but not the knock. Team Doom still have to swing around this headland if they want to back up Perks, but they more likely just want to suppress these lines. Tixi moves into position as well for a third angle.
Team Doom still down below. Now, you've got to be careful with this one. There's been a few times where they've been swelled upon by other teams whilst being mid-team fight here. And again, yes, they get up here nice and early, but a lot of times this position banks off the back of being able to sustain this spot for a long time. You can see there, just being on board with Na'Vi, a lot of their players limited on medical supplies in terms of first aid kits, in terms of actual gear, the backpacks, the helmets, the vests.
Perks finally put out of misery. Team Doom lose their forward player who was able to get across but didn't last too long. And now Team Doom have to rethink about where they can go. They've got a nice plateau to play around here. They can potentially just hold and hope that Na'Vi don't try and bobble nades over the top of it. Without Big pushing in early, Na'Vi really are unchallenged in this scenario.
This is good for them. I mean, taking down at least one player from Team Doom halts the push as well. They can continue to keep tabs on that one. Now they need to figure out the other teams around the area. Nice little loot supply there for Kitsune. He was desperately low on things to apply to the rest of the game in terms of medical supplies, HEs, flashbang, smokes, but that will give him a good amount of kit now.
Na'Vi picking up their VIRTUS.PRO, taking unfortunate engagements here. There's TJB, attack mock. Old boy down, unlikely to get this res. Here's the replay. Oh, okay, they tried to mount up. They didn't realize GK First was there. It's a double spray down. What more can you do? VIRTUS.PRO, they're on Tuluka and Yankee now. They'll have to figure out how to get further in. The blue zone has enveloped them on the northeast side, but they could potentially sneak their way in. But there's still a lot of teams on that east coast.
Yeah, I mean, you still got a lot of time, right, at this point in the game where, you know, with the way the circle looks right now on your screen, with VP being a little bit far away from the circle itself, because the map is so small, that distance is not that long to cover on foot as well. It's like that's 100 meters if we're just going by the actual blocks on the map. So not far at all. Again, you are locked in combat now, though, with 3 players from another team, which becomes difficult. But that is a nasty shift on the circle over towards the bridge side. Undetermined as well, as it envelops both sides of the circle equally.
That's really unfortunate. A lot of teams put a lot of effort into getting to that northwestern island. And that will not pay out for them. Tuluka down in the grass will not find the knock. But GK First taken very, very low, and they're in the blue zone. So that will tick away in zone 3. GK First down. It is resable for now. And if they can win this fight out, this eastern side is going to be really, really strong. Yankee, last player standing for VIRTUS.PRO. Only 3 first aids at this point. Tuluka looking to crawl on back. Lin wants that high angle, as TJB have got both sides of it. Yankee spotted rattled a little bit and forced to reposition slightly. Hits the deck, but spotted more. Lin handles business, and now this eastern side for TJB could be good if they can get past Ruthless.
Yeah, for Lin, cleaning that fight out quickly was very important for the rest of his team. They'll be able to get a nice loot resupply there in terms of meds as well from VP coming from Camp Bravo. Well done to Unicorns of Love. They are playing a 2-2 split over towards that eastern side of the island. And it's a good call as well because Game Lord move across early over towards Hatin. Unicorns of Love see this circle and immediately post up in a position that Game Lord would usually play in this type of situation.
Burn down there for Akashi. Big finding the ground floor well. Robs on the off angle for Game Lord. 2 players standing for them, Robs and Victor. With the other player over towards the north side, I think out in the water. Swimming on through. Robs, I don't know if they know that he's still in town. Maybe Big are going to be overconfident about that. Victor is swimming in the river just to the east of this. The northeast of this even. As MADBULLS right next to the Unicorns, and at the moment, Effect is down, but we've seen them recover from this before, even in this game.
Yeah, and quickly at that. Unicorns of Love, though, expect this one. They recall the troops over. They all come down from that northern side to try and help out with this. Effect's getting res in the meantime with skills on that side. Crypto, a little off angle, though, but immediately you see MADBULLS dropping the smokes on that eastern side. We'll keep them nice and safe for the time being, and we'll be able to potentially push through this, and it eliminates Crypto's position quite a bit.
Gonzo repositions out wide with the buggy, trying to scope for players there. But in comes the push from the MADBULLS. Rolkis spots skills and cuts the feet out the back there. Effect cooking the nade. Knows Rolkis is on the roof. If he cooks it right, it's a guaranteed knock here. Puts it on through, but instead sends it close, and it's a nice flush 1-2 punch coming through from MADBULLS. The spray is there. Unicorns trying to rally through. Gonzo with a nade cooking on the sidelines, but he's spotted as well. Taken very, very low. And there's the shots coming through from Effect. This is a team on fire. This is why we say this is the most coordinated team. They keep things together. Even when players go down, they manage to find that opening, and Crypto is the last standing for Unicorns of Love. In comes the push, and they're up on the wall. No way they can go for that res. The flashbang is there. The reposition comes through. He's on fire. He's burning, but he's still taking this fight. It is so bold from the MADBULLS, but he steps up. Crypto wants to take the close range engage with a shotgun. Skills is out wide, but it's the jump around the corner. He finds one, but it's shut down, and MADBULLS stay alive. Unicorns taken down. 4 alive, and MADBULLS keep going.
It was a good spot as well for Unicorns of Love. They were able to hold that one down for quite some time too, so beautiful stuff. Fortunately, Crypto realizes too little too late what kind of team he's dealing with, and the smokes were up in the air. Stopped him from seeing absolutely anything coming his way, and by the time that he realizes, you know what, I need to go and help the rest of the team, it's too late there. That flank is just not as useful as it could have been if they were just a 4-man team, especially after the couple of knocks that Unicorns of Love were able to find their way. MADBULLS instantly send 2 players up, though, towards those paddy fields. We'll have the anchor now for the rest of the team to regroup on top of.
ARB needing to leave as well. Everybody making a rotation that nobody expected. See who can pick up those pieces here. The MUERTE suffering on their hillside right now. This is on the southwest. I mean, we said we wanted to see more from the MUERTE, but honestly, I can't blame them for this circle, for this game. It looks just so difficult to navigate. Na'Vi, sure, they had a really solid position, but they had to leave it now. They are still as 4. NEXUS duking it out right now, but nobody's going to win this fight. Even if you get through, you're losing players, you're losing power, and you're really going to struggle to cross later.
I mean, going for this engagement, though, it has been pretty poor from MUERTE. Not hitting the shots, not able to find anything of merit, though. Dadaev down, 2 players from NEXUS down as well. Like you said, no one's really coming out of this fight smelling of roses here anymore, but the pushes, the peaks have all been a little bit too greedy, a little bit too soon, and Striker just about able to find at least one there, but that was dicey.
has the first aids as well to keep on going. A lot of players down for Nexus. Doran needs to force the heal here. Should be able to get the bandage off first. And actually gets the first aid full. Striker challenge over the ridgeline now. Octavian sends left, one sends right, and it is going to go well for Nexus as they take down MUERTE, but there's only 2 of the remaining. Na'Vi trying to make the cross on the bridge. Kitsune down.
They just about get into position. Picking up Kitsune, though, could be a little bit treacherous. You up to try and go for it, but the angles are there for Big.
They have got the shots underneath those covers, underneath those vehicles. But Na'Vi, they're keeping it together for now. The smokes have bloomed, the vision lines aren't quite there. Double prediction for Big, and one for Ruthless coming through from the desk.
I mean, it's a good spot for Big as well on this side. Still a hefty chance for a few of the teams within this circle.
Look at that circle. Look at that shift. Hard northeast. TJB, they looked done and dusted, but right now they're in a pretty solid position.
Yeah, there's chance now. There's absolutely chance for TJB to make this. I mean, they're on that eastern side, they're on the edge, they have the high ground to play around with just down towards that southwest as well. XTEAM maybe won't be too much of a threat towards them, but currently Robs from Game Lord alongside with his teammate Victor, who's headed up all the way to the north, is currently taking shots towards Big as they're attempting to leave. Arabian Champions, now the difficulty for Na'Vi to try and get through.
Oh, do ARB know that Tixie's here? I wonder, but he's going to get out of the water here and potential for a side swipe on ARB if they're unsuspecting. He moves through, but he gets shut down, and that's a guaranteed loss of a player for Na'Vi. So they are down in force, but the blue zone is shrinking. They send away in a vehicle early and leave everybody else locked in a fight. Kitsune wins out the duel against Hamo, swings around as well for more. But there, last standing for ARB as Hamodi's down up the hill and looks for the heal as well, trying to crawl back, but no, he peeks and sees there's a threat to be worried about. 2 players for Na'Vi move forward. Kitsune left back to slow everything down. And with that forward move, they might have found their foot into these next circles. People are struggling, but TJB are taking control.
Yeah, MADBULLS still taking shots, though, as Big unable to get through. And Victor now completely on the backstop of Death Machine over towards that north side, but MADBULLS still going strong. Only have that 1 player remaining, but still able to find a couple of knocks here and there. Meku now has to send forward as Matic falls behind him. Ruthless also going low. TJB have sent away from all the action. They're keeping it calm, keeping it collected over towards the southeast side.
I wonder if they know the Death Machines are 3 on that side. Matic low as TJB try to deal with it. They're looking to sweep here. Meku, you have to wonder how many first aids are there. How many healers have we got? Octavian for Nexus is healing currently all the way southwest, already back on the old island. Where there's healing currently for ARB under the bridge. Game Lord might have Victor out in the zone if he doesn't want to push further forwards. Effect, in the meantime, hiding in bushes.
Yeah, just cresting from one to another. And with that central position they found early in the game, I mean, it has allowed him at least to find this. Focus now, moving up. GK first has to know about this one, but he's not even looking his direction. Might hear the footsteps as he gets behind the rock, but this is a perfect opportunity for Pocus to get into the circle, but no meds here on out.
Now they're going to know each other's there, and Pocus goes down. GK first able to get that spray. Ruthless eliminated now. Meku lost for Na'Vi, close to effect from MADBULLS. A dangerous position to be in for anyone. Unless you're his teammate. But TJB, leaving GK first out the back, do open themselves up for shenanigans just a little bit. GK first not really going to have value there other than giving them that confidence to move forwards. So, and take control. Effect spots Meku down the hill. Nightmare sees Ultra from Death Machine and leaves a healer out. 3 players for TJB. You have to think this is their game to lose.
Yeah, with just 4 solos around them. 7 teams, so there's guys healing out in the circle as well. XTEAM there, Nightmare on his lonesome. TJB looking to close this game. And now Effect stuck in a tricky situation. The circle moving away from him, and GK first almost certainly understanding that spot. 12 eliminations so far. We wanted to see more from TJB, and currently they're not as floundering as we've seen them in previous phases. This does look much better overall. Yes, I would still class them as a middling team, but it's no longer a case of not able to take it all the way to that end game and really challenge an advantage anymore.
This is all TJB advantage, though. Nightmare could be suffering from the nade, will take a bit of damage, and TJB get info on another player. They still know where Effect is, and that's what they're very worried about. You can see them looking that way really consistently.
Lin still keeping everyone consistently pushed back. For Effect, it's very difficult for him to crest this ridge side. Stops the first aid early, and why not really at this point in the game? On the 7th, he needs to make these first aid kits last as long as possible.
Can he work wonders? I just don't think so. It is Effect, but I mean, come on. You can only be so strong. Up crawls Victor for Game Lord. Perhaps they think it's just a healer, but no. Oh, the backstab with the ears in the fight. And MADBULLS lose out to it. Potential to have survived a little bit longer there, but MADBULLS go down. TJB moving through now. Nightmare and Victor both in the zone, with Octavian still healing out in that southwest.
Lin drops a Molotov, understands that this is probably one of the only locations a player might be. The Nightmare really has little to work with, and immediately it's bursted down.
Now just Victor from Game Lord against 3. TJB. As I said earlier, it felt like they were done and dusted. It felt like they were all the way out, but that circle gives them a lifeline. Victor, though, stands up, goes for the spray, but the rest of them just not quite there to line up for him. TJB take it down from the most unlikely of positions. Everybody was banking on that Northwest Island, but we're always game for a surprise here in the PMPL Western Europe.
You know, it's funny because this is almost a MADBULLS win in of itself. You think I'm joking, I'm not, but the fact that they were able to push them over towards that north side and make them swing over the top of Paradise Resort instead of underneath actually changed things drastically for them, because TJB might have even headed further down underneath boot camp and gone to the Northwest Island. Instead, they're kind of forced to play up towards the paddy field because of MADBULLS, so that's a cheeky gift for the MADBULLS themselves. Again, though, very, very well done, and it's nice to see Lin there. On the player report with 901 damage and 7 eliminations. Really did kick it into overdrive towards the beginning of that game, even versus some of the teams like VP. Cleaning that fight out quickly allowed them to get fast in towards the circle. So overall, a decent game from TJB. They still feel a little bit careless at times, but it works out. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see teams that can step back up. I mean, it was the MADBULLS show for so long, and to an extent, kind of still was there. We still had hope even in those late stages, but it was squashed, fortunately, for TJB, who take the chicken dinner.
Man, TJB have just been something else when it comes to Sanhok as of late. Another big victory for them with a ton of eliminations behind it. To be fair, though, I think we could all agree on, as you brought up, Sclaris, the starting zone we had compared to where it went eventually. A little bit of luck on TJB's side, to be perfectly frank, but they still at least close out those eliminations when they needed to, proving that when they have the zone, they can still put up some big numbers.
Yeah, a proper gambit for a lot of these teams, especially when the circle centered on the river. That's terrifying in a game like this, because then you're really at the mercy of that next shift. And for those teams on the mainland, they were able to capitalize on that. I will say, I mean, the reason I kind of picked big was because they actually made a pretty decent transition across the river, whereas normally it can be a bit treacherous, but it was not to be. Hard shifts north mean that they cannot do anything, but TJB was wiggling around on that east side very well.
Yeah, and when Death Machine when the MUERTE is in the lobby, of course, they're not going to go back to their summit position. They tend to always drop on the central, more eastern coastline position on the mainland over to the east. And I feel like they've just got more in the groove of finding those rotations and being a lot quicker when it comes to executing on those rotations. So speeding up the process on Sanhok is always very important, and it's been working out great. I mean, their averages in this phase in particular for Sanhok has been pretty impressive. I mean, it was their key map in the past, and now they knew, okay, we can't go with the hill strat. We need to have actually good rotations when we do not have the option to play in Summit, and it seems like their macro has definitely improved. And seeing Lin also up there, I think what was that, 7 eliminations, is good to see a step up around GK first.
Yeah, it has always been generally the GK first show, as we I think did see Lin step up decently well in prior PMPLs, but we'll look at their stats a little bit later on here when we can finish up this match ranking. VIRTUS.PRO 0, unfortunately. tag off the back of their victory, only 2 points for themselves. Death Machine 3 points. Again, we got to keep track of what's happening here between ARB Champs and Death Machine, because that still is the battle for who gets into the finals and who unfortunately has to watch from the side. And technically Team Doom are in there as well, but for some reason we're not as focused so heavily on them. So maybe that's a team we should keep in mind here. But again, you can see GK first. I think, Clarus, you were saying, it's just like he's playing as if he's not even on a team anymore. He's like, you know what, I'm just going to go do this. You guys follow me if you want. I'm going to go get some limbs. I'm
going to be honest, it's sort of to an extent when he makes some of these plays feels like that. I think they did a really good job in this game of catching a lot of teams on rotation on that east side. VIRTUS.PRO fell victim to GK first very quickly in that, and then they were able to clean them up. And when you're able to clean up a team like VIRTUS.PRO on this kind of sweeping motion on the east side, it bodes well for you. But of course, Lin able to put in the numbers as well, as we see a few highlights of him.
Especially if off the back of that fight, when you sweep the entirety of that team, you get access to the highest ground position in that circle, so you're going to get all that information. Of course, you're going to serve as a barrage to other teams trying to make it into that position in the late game. Like I initially went with the Ruthless because they had a good position on the trifecta on the road. It offered quite decent amount of rotations. Then the circle shifts up north, and then you have yourself, I think you have some place on MADBULLS, you have TJB up there. You're not going to be able to make that cross happen. So yeah, I mean, it was not an easy fight. They were able to make it work out, mainly thanks to GK first, as you stated, but yeah, get himself in a good position, good high ground, and a lot of information that makes it a lot easier to close off the game.
Yeah, I feel like he was shooting at everything this game, GK first. I mean, yeah, Lin gets the 7 limbs, but likewise, both of them in tandem, probably putting up some very good numbers.
It's interesting, Max. I thought you picked Ruthless for a different reason, but you know what? We don't need to go into that one. We are going to go into the player stats, though, out of TJB to get an idea of who else besides Lin. I'm actually curious, was GK First extremely close to him? And funny enough, GK First was actually pretty low when it comes to the numbers. We didn't realize it was Lin putting in that much work.
If we're going to jump in there, Kalaris. Yeah, I mean, Lin able to do a lot of heavy lifting this one. Not quite the 1,000 damage for the sound of Kalaris, but yeah, the main issue I had is that when we see GK first pop off, like sure, sometimes you might have Xiao. I think Xiao in the first few days of this phase was the one that stepped up. Lin shooting everything down just like GK first, which you love to see that happening, but I need to see that on a more consistent basis, because then a lot of the time it's just going to go back to that GK first show. But if this is the new standard, and we saw it last season, right, where they just consistently improve phase after phase after phase, then step up big time in the finals, if this is like the kind of normal we can expect of them, I'm sold. I think they can do a good impression, but I still need to see that consistency, that momentum that tends to lack from time to time for TJB.
Yeah, I think we need to see a bit more of them when it comes to other maps as well. I mean, definitely Sanhok has been an extremely strong map for them within Phase 3 alone. But if we think about the other maps, we're not seeing necessarily the big Sanhok performances that we need to see, to ever call them a CCT again, or to ever see them as a team that could challenge against the likes of the Turkish teams when we get to the European regionals. Because again, at the end of the day, the fact is they did play PMWI, they did play European regionals before, and they were still not impressive in either of those international events. So definitely some room to grow for them, and especially when it comes to consistency. But at least in Phase 3, let's dive into their Sanhok stats, because that is a level of consistency we haven't seen out of them, I think, the entire event.
Yeah, that's a high average of limbs for a Sanhok, let me tell you that, because normally, even when you're getting victories on Sanhok, anything sub 10 eliminations is actually kind of a usual win on a Sanhok, because of the way in which third parties work overall for the battleground. But it's funny because TJB, if I cast my mind back so far ago, they used to be quite the Miramar team as well in some of our old phases, but we've not quite seen that spike up either.
Yeah, I think it was as Panda, right, when they would just always play towards that Chuma setup position, really have great control of the high ground position. It would be good if we could see them get back to those glory days. Unfortunately, with roster change after roster change, I think some of their old tendencies have been lost to time, and to also having all these different players like going for other teams instead, or just like quitting PUBGMOBILE esports as a whole. So it does hurt them, but it shows they still know that they'll all have hope that they can get back to those glory days. But with a lobby to stepped up this much, it's tough now. But I think this is good for them long term, because if they play with some of the best teams of the entirety of the West for PUBGMOBILE esports, I can't wait to see what they can do potentially next year or the year after that. Of course, hoping, crossing my fingers, they stick as this new roster, but they tend to change teams quite a bit.
Well, the entire day we haven't checked in with overall, so we're going to do that right now here, because Max, we've obviously haven't been able to talk about TJB a ton, except when it comes to Sanhok. Ooh. But they sneakily have been able to get themselves in the second place here.
Yeah, it seemed like they found a playstyle that suits them. We saw how messy they were in the first two phases. They were definitely trying to find their groove, and now they are definitely feeling a lot more comfortable in this type of lobby, and being able to overtake teams who's like Na'Vi, VIRTUS.PRO, teams that have already had that international experience and success in the past is impressive. So it still sucks we didn't see them do well in like your PMWIs and such, but they're able to adapt to the environment like this, I know next time they go to international, they could do pretty well.
I mean, the funny thing is that them being second is actually kind of a huge deal, considering the narrative that has flown from Phase 1 to Phase 2, where we're suddenly saying all these CIS teams are absolutely popping off and not giving anybody a chance. TJB, second place, is the only fact that I think we haven't parked on it too much more is the fact that MADBULLS has just eclipsed them completely in this last day and a half. If that hadn't have happened, I think TJB would be talking about them all the time.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. We probably would be seeing them as #1, or most likely see them as #1, at least in its current iteration. As you look down the list, though, NEXUS has been able to make some moves here, 150 points. They got second place in both of their last matches, so they're able to put up at least a good foot forward here as we get ever so close to ending things off. Death Machine there in 17th place. They've actually fallen out of top 16 here in our final phase, but again, it's not a big deal to fall out of top 16 at the moment, though you do miss out on the Livic show match, or the Livic match, I should say. It's not a show match anymore, but it's not a good sign when it comes to overall points, as they potentially could be surpassed. But also for you guys at home who are watching PMPL, we've had a couple of people submit some cheeky pictures. We want to see how you're watching. Just make sure you use the hashtag PMPLWU, and Maxman will like your post and put it up here on the show.
I only like my posts. No.
You only like your post? Okay, so maybe he'll post one. Well, let's go over to our commentators, though, because we know how they're watching PMPL. They're the ones bringing you all the action. It's John and Blake.
That's right. We're watching it right here, right now. We're ready to kick things off and go into our last game of the day. We still have tomorrow's games, of course, and no one's really going to catch the MADBULLS at this stage, breaking records left and right, Blank. But there's still plenty more up for grabs in terms of those overall points on the phase, in terms of those points in the general rankings as well.
Absolutely. I mean, we're still going strong here for MADBULLS. They're still looking pretty decent, getting towards the end of games many times. And I think that's what's the difficulty, is that even on a bad game, they can still put a performance like 7 eliminations where things don't really work in their favor at all. TJB, though, second place, 234 points. Really good stuff from them. The boys are on the desk were talking about that consistency they wanted to see more out of. And now 234 on the end of at the end of day 2, or day 5 here, really, in phase 3. It's really good, honestly. It doesn't look amazing because of where MADBULLS currently is at 308, but this is a really high scoring. If it wasn't for MADBULLS being kind of gods of the lobby right now, it wouldn't matter so much.
No, but they are, so it kind of does. 20 matches played. They're not playing in our last game of the day, of course. MADBULLS sitting this one out. They've done enough. They've done enough. Maybe we'll see some analyst predictions for MADBULLS anyway. I mean, why not?
Maybe. I'd like to see some more.
just put it in there. They might win. You never know.
Even if they're not, it's fine. You just do it anyway. It doesn't matter. Not one slight bit, John. You might get the win where they suddenly swoop in from the lobby and then start just going absolutely ham on everyone. This game, though, we maybe won't see that. Though I would love to see the 17th rogue team suddenly appear, which would be quite fun. Unicorns of Love, though, heading over towards Nova Rep Neuer. Arabian Champions also heading down this way. Again, another eastern shift on the circle with a western playing path. Does, again, make some difficulties. For some of these teams, VP really found their footing with this kind of circle, with this kind of playing path, in which case they just set directly centered towards Mansion, held that one down for a while. Feels like they're getting a little bit more of the hang and realizing that one of their major issues is that they're not leaving these compounds quick enough, or not exerting enough presence whilst in these extremely prominent compounds.
Hard west playing path, hard east. It seems like east is a magnet for the circles today. I think we've had, 3 of them so far going out this way. Interesting dynamics. Are 4 Romanian men going towards Severny, or are they just going for the pickup? I think they might have just been grabbing some vehicles and regrouping over on that northern side. TJB landing in the sort of in the midst of Death Machine, with Hamodi all the way down southwest. But they're right on that northern side, so they should be okay. The weapons probably not quite lined up just yet this early in the game to be able to stop this rotation. And if they can head out east early, then all the better for it.
I mean, still for TJB, I mean, their last Erangel today looked great. They had that eastern side. They found themselves a very good position. basically the same circle as well, so they're going to quickly head over towards one of these spots and start to play from there too. I think for them, you know, the western edge of prison seems to be a hot spot for them at the moment. They like to play from there, gives them good sight lines down towards shelter, and also protects them from any players that might want to swing around the top of Kameshki like 4 Romanian men like to do, or even like a team like Big or Game Lord now who are in the mix, who weren't as much of a threat in that other game because there was no one playing in Yasnaya, which definitely made for an interesting ending of the circle, in which case Na'Vi were able to quickly get into position up towards that north side of Lipovka on the coast.
See what ground can be gained by teams. Team Doom on the southwest side with Eastern Stars just a little bit further north of them. MUERTE trying to punch through that line now and make that move early. I feel like that's fairly wise, and Team Doom won't be able to stop this one just yet. They might hear this rotation, they might be able to gain that info, but won't be able to spot it. QODEX close to Take Aim Gaming already. Want Take Aim Gaming players to go down, but MONIAN is isolated here in this fight. Far away from the rest of the team, not quite getting the backup just yet either. And Take Aim Gaming disengaged from it.
It's always the case with QODEX is that you really do feel like they're an easy bit of elimination points on their side, but then suddenly you've got Woodson who is quite literally backstabbing you, and then several other players from the team who come in from those edges. Now PNL, I think, has not had the greatest of tournaments so far. I think it looked kind of good in the beginning, but really does let the team down sometimes, I would suppose. I think maybe he does try and play that entry frag or that scout forward, but a lot of times going down early in the game, you're not really performing your duty or your role very well. I mean, you look at Matic, who has kind of reeled things in just a little bit at the moment. When he scouts very quickly and in a very, very fast manner, right? And quickly gets back towards the rest of his team. Not trying to go on these mad rotates anymore, on these mad splits where he's gaining information but likely to get knocked. Just does it in a way that he was always able to do, but as I said before, has reined it in a lot.
And you need to, when you're playing against teams of this caliber, to make sure that you've got every single chance that you can take, and you need to make the most of it as well. ARB in that military island, Sosnovka military base right now, still just looting it on up. They will know that the Unicorns of Love are over in Novo. That eastern bridge could potentially be a sticking point unless ARB send all the way west, because they should be fairly all right on that bridge. Is Team Doom going to camp that one out? You don't expect so. It's probably more valuable for them to head out east and try and get some position in the next circle.
7.5 limbs here for Na'Vi on the average per game with 1460 damage, which is not bad at all. Considering you have some bad games in here and there, being able to average that out at 7.5 and 1,500 is actually fairly decent. So even if they aren't getting those good games, it seems that they're still putting in a good amount of work. Now, sending directly over towards Yasnaya, will have to quickly head down towards that south side to avoid Game Lord, understanding that this group is now in the mix, and to figure that out. And again, as we mentioned before, VP instantly takes up Mansion position, hoping for a little bit more of a central shift on these circles, though recently in Phase 3, and I'll keep saying it, these hard shifts have been an absolute menace to the society.
They've been given an ASBO.
They have done. I mean, it would be great if they were given an ASBO, because we'd be able to put a tracker on their legs and be able to know where they were going. But unfortunately, that was some oversight from whoever is policing these circles.
The council giving that one a miss, unfortunately. But see, who's going to take up residence in that central area? You talked about VP taking their mansion spot. I mean, we saw them struggle to leave it last time, and it seems to be their general struggle of leaving a compound or a settlement. So hopefully they can get out should they need to. Na'Vi moving in on the north side. Now they moved away from Game Lord, away from the Yasnaya fields, and it looks like they do want more presence down to the south. ARB ended up crossing on the western bridge. Blank and Team Doom are not guarding it out, but they are still slow on that rotate. Game Lord still on Yasnaya, still in the circle. They should be okay for a little bit longer, but Big are moving their way.
I think for Big, being in Severny, you would have hoped to see a slightly earlier rotate here if this was the direction they were going to take, because Na'Vi is absolutely past them in terms of lap timing to get down towards that south side into a compound that is just on the edge of the field. So we'll be able to take shots towards Big if they're not careful. So maybe they have to drop out, scout a little bit, take a quick rest break in between making their way down, or just send it directly in, which I would say was a little bit dangerous in this situation. TJB, on the other hand, have moved towards the northeast side of prison as well as that western side. We know that they love their splits, and it looks like they're still going to go for it as well. Very flexible team.
Flexibility, key. I mean, anything can happen. You need to be ready. Flexibility, one of the major attributes that you're going to be looking for in a squad to perform well. Na'Vi take a knock, I think. Is that the first? No, it's not. Taken Gaming took a knock earlier in their engagement. But Na'Vi run into a little bit of trouble against Big, as Na'Vi try and fend off that position, and the flush comes through as well as the engagement on the south of Yasnaya Fields starting to develop now, as Na'Vi seem to be repositioning, seem to be moving away, but leaving that line there. Can Big move through this? And will teams come and try and third party, like Game Lord after this shift?
I mean, no initial refrag, no initial frag to begin with for Na'Vi. It's pretty bad for them, and that's another knock coming their way. So unable to hold down this ground from Big in the Alamo. Very unfortunate. This should be a position they're able to take. Big has had practice, though, versus Pioneer in the last matches. Luckily for Na'Vi, Matic's an absolute madman.
Mickey as well took a lot of damage there. It's just Mazzara needs to force this res, and Matic has the time to heal now. Can reposition. If he lets these reses go through, oh, he stops it. Excellent reposition there. Mihi still in the vehicle, can't suppress it. Pin pulled on the nade, wants to drop it just over the top of the wall there. Perfectly placed, and it's a double knock. The re-knock comes through as well, just on the end of that res timer. Otherwise, it could have been a full-on flush, but Matic is holding this one down expertly. Mihi now goes for the challenge, and is it going to be a 1 versus 4? I do not believe it. Matic dismantles Big. One after the other, they step up and they are shut down.
I mean, fragging capability is automatic for this guy. He does not mind whatsoever if Kitsune wants to send down towards the south. He's finishing this fight with Big, but that should have been so much easier for them. That initial push from Big should not have come in so quickly. It shouldn't have been as devastating as it was for Na'Vi. So you wonder if they were in the process of looking to re-rotate out of that position, in which case they were caught slightly unawares. Well, fortunately for Big, though, well, fortunately for Na'Vi, Matic seems to hold it down very, very easily, and Big kind of crumbles around that solo player. Again, not the result that Na'Vi was looking for, but 4 limbs at the start of the game. It's never a bad thing. Regardless of how far they get, at least, you know, there is those 4 points that are evened out on this Erangel, the last one of the day.
Try and smooth those point curves. That's what you're looking for in long form. But as it comes to a close, you do want those pop-offs to be in your potential. Roll kiss for Unicorns of Love, South Coast, as they have left that military island. And we want more from the team. We want to see the unicorns that we've seen before. This first knock from Matic was really, really crucial. And then taking that second duel was just outskilling. I think this was really well played by Matic in terms of getting that first knock in a weird open position that you won't expect on a hold. But the second follow-up was just pure skill. And then the management and the engagement from there on is a testament to him.
Yeah, it's great because, I mean, he sees the player pushing through the front, and I think Beast just goes a little bit too early, doesn't give enough time for Mazzaro to get through that window, in which case you just see Matic immediately get that first frag through the door, and then understands that, you know, the second point of ingress is going to be through that window where there can be cover, he can get the side swipe. So he's very, very quick on the ball there, understands exactly how he would play out that engagement if he was crashing that compound, and just use that to his advantage to just pre-fire both those spots. It is just understanding, less of that aim dueling, but more of just unknowing where these players will be coming from.
I think Mihi as well was supposed to be that overlook, that off angle to stop him going up high. but he had been spotted. I think it might have been by Kitsune, it might have been by another team, by a third party, but he was taken low and was forced to heal, and then he had to reposition. He was taken out of the fight for so long that by the time he was engaged, his teammates had already died. And so that was also another pivotal part of that fight. But we'll have to revisit that, as this is a hard south shift and everybody wants a piece of it.
Eastern Stars losing one upstairs. MUERTE looking to maybe get some consolation points at the end of the day here. In the meantime, everyone's fighting over that central compound down towards the south of Potato Hill here. Bazzi takes a ton of damage, but still lives through it.
He's managed to get to the outside on the balcony, but they know all about this trick. You have to get up a little bit earlier to pull that one across. Keme and Athis now, 2 players alive for Eastern Stars. Can't get Kapahala back up in this scenario. MUERTE now, with their share of the compound, potentially looking to push over to the garage. They will start to leap on out. Nades starting to be pulled there. A smoke up into the top floor as well to slow things down, to make it harder. Keme puts a nade out, and it's right gonna go for the bounce there and finds Ingush in the buggy, as they are gonna be able to swing around already. The vault in through the window. Keme suppressing, swaps weapons, a dropout over the top line as well, and it's all chaos here as Eastern Stars trying to hold out with 2. MUERTE not really finding what they're looking for, and Athis finds the knock. The first player through the window. Ingush is still down on the outside. Dadaev now left standing, and it seems like the holdouts from the minorities are working today. Dadaev, last player for MUERTE against the 2 from Eastern Stars, and they hold out as well. We've seen a 1v4, we've seen a 2v4 on these holds. Blank today, it seems to be working on the inside.
I like that a lot. I mean, still good play from Keme to be able to get that nade through the window as he's waiting for, as MUERTE is waiting for the rest of the team. It seemed pretty clean to begin with, but they just hesitate in those last moments in that side building, and that's what a 2-2 split can do for you. It gives time for the rest of your team to really get back into gear, find a better angle on this fight. And for MUERTE, I think that really should have just been a 4-man push through the garage doors. Tried to throw in a flashbang first and play off the back of that. Unfortunately for them, Keme is just a little bit too on the money there, too on the ball with that grenade in the beginning, which just slows everything down, and you kind of isolate a lot of those 1v1s off the back of it. Pioneer still challenging for central spot in the circle. Team Doom seem to have spotted them, but they're still sending bullets back their way. Arabian Champions, another important team to highlight during this game, found their way down towards that south side. You can see it on your screen at the moment, looking to solidify their spot here. If they can get some good points today and kind of try and even up that gap just a little bit towards Death Machine. Currently still around 30 points behind. I mean, a nice game, 25 points, you know, that puts you in striking distance, John.
What is going on with these hard shifts today, Blank? I mean, it has been pretty crazy. Nobody really with a full hold on this zone. Game Lord with a wide split with Na'Vi in the middle of it. A little bit of a sandwich there. Na'Vi trying to slip out of the bread, but Game Lord not going to be able to slow this one down. I mean, you'd have thought you'd get at least 1 knock, but there's still time. Matic and Kitsune get around some cover, and they might have a chase on their hands, a swing around, and they hop out. Death Machine just over their way, and Na'Vi pull up short of it. They don't want to swing into danger, and that is absolutely fair. Matic, very, very open right now. Should see Narvalo. Kitsune gets taken out and needs some answer there. Kitsune is low, sure, but Matic has a little bit of time that he's bought himself. Akashi wants to get the knock, forces Matic to play out his way and maybe take down the last player of Na'Vi. Can he drop a smoke and puts the nade at the back there? Repositions, but Victor has the angle. There's players up the hill, and that's Curtains. Game Lord go for the chase to Na'Vi's position, and in the meantime, they regroup as well, so it's a 2-fold rotation.
Yeah, it's difficult for the boys from Na'Vi to really contend with that. Too many players in too many different directions. It's difficult to predict. Speaking of predicting, I'm going to say it's kind of like playing pin the tail on the donkey with this circle at the moment, because you may as well be blindfolded for all the help it would do you. Trying to find where the circle's going to go in this phase 3. The tournament.
Pro. That's the prediction.
For you?
Yeah, sure, why not?
That's not a circle, but okay.
Oh no, where it's going to go, sure, but in terms of teams.
Yeah, okay. VIRTUS.PRO. Game Lord over towards Potato Hill. Still have guys on that western side looking down towards QODEX. Kashi just trying to gain as much information as possible. Potato Hill not super useful to at the moment, but in terms of trying to gather information on this western side, it's good. And again, for Game Lord, they should know with the western playing path early, a lot of these teams will have maybe jumped the gun a little bit and sent very far off towards that eastern side. Maxman with a big vouch towards TJB at the moment. Kalaris with Shockwave and Jason with Death Machine.
Death Machine all the way up on that north side, Shockwave northeast, so two teams fairly close to one another. TJB caught in the thick of things right now. I mean, they have 3 players alive. GK First is still in the mix. Lin's still there as well. VIRTUS.PRO fighting off against Unicorns of Love as Gonzo's down. But Corker sends on in. No, there's a low HP player there, and we'll be able to fend that one off. Out hops the buggy, and Corker fends that off as well. Turns his attention to Roll Kiss and suppresses that tree line. Old Boy still going as well, but Tulika is low, and they need to force this res. Unicorns fall, and VIRTUS.PRO stay alive on the east, looking to sweep.
And this is why you bring Corker in, because goodness me, that was one hell of a hold coming from him. Very, very good shots. Unfortunately, Old Boy will be taken down by TJB, who are currently taking shots to him from that western side. The team is outside, just on the edge of the blue, but TJB, look at this lineup. This is deadly.
This is a really solid position, high ground over the top of it as well. Forcing the heals now coming through from VIRTUS.PRO. Old Boy, Yankee. Is he going to get re-knocked there? I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to wait and see. No, did get the heal off just in time. Now VIRTUS.PRO can send through a little bit of cover. Tulika can make it to that tree. How much further can they go, though? Because these shots from Shockwave can come in to prove troublesome.
Another pretty difficult shift up towards that northwest side. Unfortunately, Corker gets sent away with the rest of his team getting blown up in the vehicles. I think that's just now him solo for the rest of the team, looking for those placement points, which...
Yankee's there.
Oh, Yankee's still up. Okay. So behind him, all the way in the blue. Unfortunate.
Pioneer underneath TJB. Lin going down, and that leaves TJB at 2. Pioneer moving up, and they only have 1 in the close fight. Izumitsu, though, with the backstop. Nade over towards Havlik. This is gonna hit from Xiao. I mean, it's not even gonna be needed as GK First finds that, but the flush can come through, or certainly force Izumitsu to go for a different sort of play than maybe they were expecting. Pioneer left on 1. The shift is out to the west and leaves this area over towards Game Lord. Death Machine on that northern flank of it.
Yankee currently kind of soloing TJB by himself over on this side. One player goes down, gets flushed immediately. This is all the way on the edge of the blue, and Yankee starts to walk in. Lin, though, spots that one out. Now just 2 players for TJB. Not sure how much further they can get in this match. Fash down. Now it's just time for survival for some of these teams. And you see so many 4-man teams here just because they've been on the move all game. They've hardly had time to take any engagements with one another.
Death Machine, Team Doom, ARB, Shockwave, and Game Lord, all 4 players alive. Nobody else quite so lucky. Eastern Stars, they've got 2. As Death Machine takes shots their way. Death Machine are going to have to leave this building. They will have to leave the rooftop. We'll see what cover they can move to, because right now Shockwave are really slowing them down, but Shockwave are going to have to move first in this spot. They've already tried to strike out early. TJB lose their forward scout, and GK First now last standing for the squad. ARB moving in on the south.
Yeah, a lot of open area here, and now the hillside of Potato Hill becomes very, very prevalent indeed with Game Lord. Those are the only ones holding on this side, again, because they maintain the majority of the western side of the circle for themselves. Everyone else sent east early. This is really good for them.
Nice high nade from Jamaz over towards Team Doom. Props that smoke as well. Forces them to slow things down on that south side. ARB in this next circle. Shockwave. Spot out GK First, and that's the last player from TJB down. Northern side looking pretty tricky, but Game Lord might have the edge here in terms of that position. You said that side of Potato Hill going to be strong.
Again, the difficulty comes because you have to hold both sides, right? They don't want to let anyone else encroach on this position, so they have to play a 2-2. Narvalo and Victor on the north, Akashi and Robs still dominating that south side. Now, though, with this shift, Victor and Narvalo can come back towards the team and hold towards that northwest side with a little bit of high ground to play around with. It's good for them.
Jamaz gets knocked in the meantime from Shockwave, I think. Was that coming on through? That's a long way away, but either way, they do manage to hit that one. Game Lord yet to fully regroup, but they can gain a lot of information. Corker, solo for VP, still alive. in front of Death Machine and Shockwave, so you've got to imagine as soon as they start to go for that rotation, it's going to be shut down, but no, put to a stop even earlier than that. As Gamelord find the shots. Hamodi moving in early for Death Machine. Gamelord will spot this, but they might just want to regroup back to the team.
I don't actually think Victor saw Hamodi move up there. He's too preoccupied on the right side of that smoke. Shockwave also still going. Like I said, this actually does give a little bit of an advantage over towards Gamelord. Being able to recoalesce here actually strengthens them quite a bit, and they don't have to hold as many angles themselves. Narvalo definitely will have to keep tabs on these players on the north. Ultra goes down, that's perfect. That will start things off strong.
Catches the final bullet there, unfortunately. Shockwave take this opportunity to move straight for the circle. If they can get ahead of Gamelord, they could potentially swing around all the way to the back, but they want to put pressure on the side of Death Machine. Can Shockwave take this away from Gamelord? Have Gamelord over-invested position? Sure, they might be able to get these flushes, they might be able to get these eliminations, but Shockwave can prove to be a massive barrier for them. And Hamodi's not done just yet. Robs is low, and Shockwave are coming in strong. Right on the side swipe. On the south, it's Team Doom to stay alive. But Death Machine are getting crunched. Shockwave now flanking around, and Gamelord might have had it all taken away from them.
Yeah, on the unawares here, Nade comes down from the top side from the own team as well, and will do a lot of damage to Robs in that vehicle, which meant he had to slow it down a lot. Akashi's not in a position to help. Nade round the side, directly in the face.
Don't want that for breakfast there, out of the buggy. We'll be able to find the shots, and I don't think you get that res back on up, not with the zone closing, not with it in phase 6. Aza, you need to be careful. Get away as fast as you can. Pop a first aid in a little bit. You've just got to run at this stage. ARB, 4 players alive still. Team Doom on the south, 4 of them as well.
Suddenly, Gamelord's down to just 1 player. Just a little bit overzealous towards Death Machine. Don't bother watching over the top of the crest. Don't see Shockwave suddenly making their move onto that position, and by the time they notice, it's too little too late. Gamelord awareness just a little bit lacking, even though they made the right play, to be honest, but just not enough consideration for the other teams within the lobby.
And Akashi wasn't really in a position to help. He was watching on that south flank. He was waiting for teams to try and push up that way, but that just didn't happen. And they were severely outnumbered there in the engagement. Gamelord suffering. ARB moving up on this ridge line. Team Doom also trying to move up. Modi will spot 1, will spot 2, but he gets seen in the grass. Doesn't take any shots as a response, but the teammates step up. Perks taken low and knocked as well. That's a third party. Akashi still in this game. It's a spray down coming through as well. Onto a second. 2 players knocked for Team Doom. 2 players knocked for ARB. It's only 3 players alive for Shockwave, but they have the advantage in this current state. The reses need to come through, and they have the northern side. Hamodi and Wadea crawling back.
Pretty lackluster plays there from Arabian Champions. Don't put up too much of a fight, instead bailed out by the solo player towards Potato Hill and Akashi from Gamelord. And again, we said at the beginning, a 20-point game would be marvelous for ARB, because they would be starting to at least close the gap somewhat for themselves. Slowly getting their players back up on their feet, but it's really not what you want to see. They just feel not strong enough yet, John.
Not quite. They're missing that oomph, that X factor that can really bring them into the competition, but they back 1 player off from Team Doom. Nades over the top, right on top of Hamo, but doesn't get the knock just yet. They're stepping up, stepping down, but Shockwave in the meantime, they're coming through. Jamaz is on the swivel though, has that info, and will slow it down. Team Doom can also take shots, and in the meantime, Akashi's allowed to move further forwards. As in comes the crest. Phantom finds 1, but it's traded off. Terminus steps up for the res, and they're in for the fight as well. Shockwave trying to move forwards with pressure, and only 1 player now left for ARB. Team Doom on 2. Everybody's bleeding here. Akashi is still going and can prove to be pivotal in this scenario. If he gets a nade in a good position, that's 3 of Team Doom gone. Zero wants the challenge, wants the flush. He's low as well. Jamaz behind the tree, and Terminus is crawling forwards in all this. In the midst of it, the nades coming through from Akashi. They are looking pretty close, and there's the shots from Jamaz, last player for ARB. Get that flush off board, get those points once more as well. Ace is off the mark, but teammate not going to be quite so inaccurate there. Zero finds that flush. Everybody is slowing down. Look at the health bars on Team Doom, nothing left.
Yeah, that fight was messier than a food fight over at Peter Pan's there, so not good at all for a lot of these teams. Luckily, Team Doom's able to keep 4 alive, but no meds whatsoever. They are struggling. And we may see the resurgence of the Akashi Assassin. 8 eliminations so far for Game Lord. Just wonder what he can do with it.
Everybody dropping off their stuff. They know it's a field finish. They know it's a grass finish. Keep a low profile. You don't want to be spotted. You don't want to be spotted first. Perks. Oh, he knows he's there. He takes one of Team Doom earlier, gets the flush with the Groza, but that's position given away for Akashi, and he knows that. Immediately repositions. I wonder if there's any nades left in the back pockets of these teams. Spray from Easy to stop that reposition, but doesn't quite land the mark.
Yeah, there should be absolutely nada everywhere. So much was invested in that previous firefight. So most of these teams are still recovering from ringing in the ears. Akashi, though, finds another.
And repositions not quite away from the full spray. Another rattle down. Needs to get back to the cover maybe and could get a heal. Phantom takes down Nightmare. Team Doom 1v1v1 right now. Akashi, does he have any first aids? Does he have anything to keep him topped up? The blue zone is pushing in as well. Aza last standing for Shockwave. Easy last for Team Doom. These reses are impossible. Akashi with the cover might be able to find something, and he finds Zero. That's Team Doom gone. Akashi low, and he's taken no. Easy found it instead. It's turned around, and now it's 1 versus 1, but Easy's position's given away, and Shockwave stand up, finally putting an end to it. What a crazy way to finish out the day, but it's a chicken dinner for Shockwave.
I mean, Akashi almost struck once again. I mean, we call him the Akashi Assassin for a reason, right? In those final moments, you've got to make sure you're watching your back and don't see that cloaked figure walking down the alley towards you. Luckily for the enemy team, they were able to find him in those final moments, but the way he was playing around that loot crate, going to the other hard cover as well, you know, it really did strike the fear in towards the guys from Team Doom. 20 points in the game for Game Lord, though. Still good. Not what we see every single day from Game Lord, which is the unfortunate thing, but good to know that Akashi still has it in him as that solo last player alive to make it work. Shockwave, though, with a big game.
Absolutely, they managed to close that one down. Shockwave giving the points over as well on the predictions.
You know, normally I'm not angry when teams win, but I get angry when I was literally going to pick Shockwave, but I was like, you know what? I want to catch up to Colaris. And he's like, yeah, go, I pick another team. And I picked Death Machine. I'm a little bit tilted, but it's fine. At least I'm not in last place. As we move through, as we talk about Shockwave, able to get a bunch of points. Let's take a look at the match rankings. It's totally necessary, let's be honest. Oh no,
necessary too.
Rankings. I wish, you know, they just photoshopped the chin bigger and bigger and bigger every time you lost.
I think this is already max size. I don't think you can make any bigger. Photoshop is just like overload.
I can see our rankings though. 28 points for Shockwave, 20 points for Game Lord. Team Doom as well, getting 15 points. And also, ARB champions, 13 points is massive. If we think about the grand scheme of things, right? When it comes to overall points, they could have a chance to surpass Death Machine. It all comes down to tomorrow now.
Yeah. I mean, we saw they were willing to make that change on Miramar too, here get himself a decent amount of points. I think we saw the point gap between them and 17th place, which was Death Machine of what, about 40 points, right? So
42 points, yeah.
Yeah, so this is definitely helping out a really significant amount for ARB champions to be able to potentially make it into the final. Still not an easy one for them, but okay, it's time. Shockwave, Game Lord, the most points in this one. I'm going to say it, French powerhouse, and it's probably the only time I'm going to say it the entire event. So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I'm coping hard, okay? Copium.
He's tried his best. He's tried his best. But you know who tried their best? Shockwave. I love that they got this win. I mean, as you say, Jason, the reason we were both going to pick them, it was just a great spot for them to try and kind of play in on. It was not an easy choice. I think for this circle, a lot of the teams didn't really have much of a position to work with. It was kind of a scrappy ending towards all of this. But it is nice to see Shockwave getting another win on the board after quite a while now.
It was a hard pick because MADBULLS wasn't playing and Na'Vi were down to 2 players.
Rough that.
I think that's kind of how it went at the end of the day here for us. But yeah, great way to end things out again, as you said before, like Shockwave. It's been a while since we've seen them step up like this. By the way, Matic 1v4 in big. That was interesting.
This was lovely.
There you go. I mean, it's a great rooftop position, to be honest. Like, yeah, it was an actual proper 4-piece. You don't see too many of those, but yeah, I mean, it's a play of Na'Vi, right? If this player's not going to clutch, it's going to be your Na'Vis, your VPs, your MADBULLS also, right? So I'm not really too surprised. I still want to see my Tiggy Supremacy at one point do a 1v4 clutch, but you know what? I'll take what I can get from Na'Vi, yeah.
You know what was surprising though, and we haven't touched on this too much when it comes to being on broadcast, but when we've been watching the matches, MUERTE, this team has just kind of fallen off the face of the planet after having such a strong start to this phase. This team just, I feel like they had like single-digit points, if I'm not mistaken.
Over the past 2 days, Mary, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
It's been rough for them for sure. I'm looking at kind of where they had to enter from this game. Of course, I mean, they're dropping over towards MUERTE, but even beyond that, like when they're trying to enter these circles, it's really not going that well for them. They're losing people on rotations as well, and then eventually it's just a big bleed out. They're not being able to be as decisive as a MADBULLS, for example, to send it to the middle, even with a 2 or a 3 alive.
Well, the important part of bringing this all up as well is thinking forward into the future. The finals, right? It's top 8 that go into regionals, or top 6, Max? Top 8.
It's top 8.
Top 8.
8 from Turkey,
Right.
8 from this region, yeah.
Right now, MUERTE are not playing like a top 8 team. This is like the pinnacle time, the perfect time for you to start to peak in a tournament, is as we go into our final days, as we get into our finals. And right now, after how well MUERTE has played this entire time, they might not make it to the regionals.
Their saving grace might be the points they've accumulated from being relatively consistent, and especially in the phase 2 and phase 3. That might help them make it in that top 8 position. But I mean, yeah, they got 4 points yesterday. They started off today on. They started off today with a total of 156 points, and they finished today now with a total of 166. So they got 10 points on the day, 4 yesterday. Yeah, I mean, if they pull off anywhere close to these type of results in the finals, and you see how much teams around them have stepped up, like your TJBs, MADBULLS on top, Na'Vi, VIRTUS.PRO, there's a very clear chance that MUERTE might not make into the championship. So they need to get back into the right zone, because right now they're just not looking like they were before.
Might be an anomaly though. We'll see. I mean, these things can happen in terms of a little bit of a lull in results. I mean, even teams like Fireflux over in Turkey, if you want to draw the comparison, that phase 1 and 2, they had an amazing phase 1 and 2, but the start of phase 3 for them for Fireflux wasn't that great. Even though we know they're an excellent team, you can have these lulls from time to time. So could be an anomaly.
Yeah, you can have these lulls, but this is like almost the worst time to have it happen for you when we go into our short form. And I think no matter what lead they would have had against teams going into the finals with the points they accumulated from these phases, it's not going to save you if you can only get 14 points across 2 days. But you know what might save you? Having an MVP on your team. Let's actually take a look at who our MVP of the day is. Remember, at the end of this event, the MVP will get $1,000. What do you wonder? Okay, so Max, you sound like you know who it's going to be.
Whoa! I didn't expect that. Oh, wow. I've never seen this. We've seen this graphic too many times. And yeah, 15 elimination. What was it last time he got himself? 17? 16, 17, something like that. Like, yeah, it's effect. I think it's like the pro. You've reached the end of the show when you just see this graphic. Like, oh yeah, end of show, wrap it up, it's done.
I mean, it's saving production a lot of work every day. This don't have to change anything. It's brilliant.
Yeah, and it's not.
The question is, like, what are his limits as a player, too? Because he has been ridiculous. He's been probably the most consistent player. We've seen him MVP the most amount of times. Doesn't even come close to anyone else. GK first, Crypto, doesn't matter. This man has been able to consistently be at the top. And if we talk about people having lulls and play and, peaks and valleys, this man's been all peak so far.
And we brought it many times, right? He is definitely MVP contender for the entire tournament fair. Even when he's not there, you saw Monkey do some exceptional plays today, like skills, has had some perfect off angles to set up the team. Zerish is there, like it's just his perfect duo to go fragging out. The entire team is an absolute threat to your existence if you're in the same lobby as them. And yeah, they're not stopping. They've been consistent, and I don't even expect them to have just one bad day, just as like an off day. To just a bad day for them is like the best day for some of the other teams. So yeah, they're just gonna still be up there.
It's true. It's very true. And well, speaking of good days, let's take a look at our results from the day so you guys get an idea of which teams did take themselves victories. And obviously, MADBULLS keeping their streak alive. Back-to-back wins at the start of the day. Erangel and Sanhok, 27 eliminations in those 2 maps alone. As we look down the rest of the list, a couple of new names, to be fair, Claris. I mean, Tag getting a win in Game 3, and Shockwave getting a win in Game 5.
Did feel like it was only a matter of time once again before TJB got another win. But yeah, Tag and Shockwave, it's been a little while. Since I think Shockwave, I can't remember actually the last time Tag had a win, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm totally blank.
It's been a while.
Well, they did have a win in round 14 of phase 3, so they've had another in recent memory, but because they're middle of the table right now, it's not really sticking in the memory, right? So they need to just kind of get out of that rut. I think they're probably still top 12, so they could potentially move on to that Livic game.
Yeah, and I'm super stoked that we're seeing TJB actually coming in with a game plan. We saw the first 2 phases, they were all over the place trying to find a game plan that works. It seemed like they've actually found something. And we got double Sanhok tomorrow. We're going to have some Sanhoks into the finals too. So I feel like I'm happy with where TJB currently stand. It's just, can they hold on to that? And I think that they can do it right now. It's good.
Just to give you some info, Cloris. The last time Shockwave got a chicken dinner was the second match of day 1 of phase 2.
If we were going to say last season, I was like, well, okay.
No. I'm not looking that far back. That's a little too far back. Well, you know what? You guys who are watching at home, maybe you feel like you can take these teams on, and there is an opportunity to do so. However, you have to go through PMCO. The registrations are now out. You guys can head into the game to make sure to sign up and participate, and hopefully we'll get to see some of you guys playing in PMPLs in the future. And if you are here right now and you heard this, and you eventually get to PMPL and we're working on the show, I want you to message me. I want proof. So take like a screenshot right now of the day and time, get a newspaper. I need some proof, and I will give you an extra spicy reward. Let's take a look at our overall rankings from this 3rd phase. MADBULLS, clear contenders to first place. They don't even need to play tomorrow, and I'm almost guarantee you they will still be first place at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, they can have a day off tomorrow if they want. I think it's well deserved. Just go for it, guys. Just take a day off. But yeah, TJB, checking out the stats right now also for MVP. Lin is in 2nd place for MVP contender of the day, and GK First is 3rd. So, hey, fair enough. You know what? He's got 13 eliminations on the day, Lin. GK First 9. So that's the type of step up that we wanted to see, not only in terms of their macro, but also when it comes to individual performances. And man, above teams like Na'Vi, VIRTUS.PRO, that is a big achievement for them right before the finals. It's the good time to do it, and they're making it happen.
Finding their groove. Great to see here against some of the CIS teams, and I think quite a bit of that does come off the fact that they're now starting to be very proficient on Sanhok, considering all the adjustments that they had to make. That's the cool thing about the phase format, is that actually there's quite a lot of games for you to effectively have the best practice possible against these teams and slowly be able to work out how they're going to be interacting around you, and TJB's done that pretty well.
Well, thinking about actually the finals, I was wondering to myself, it's great that they're playing well in Sanhok, but is Sanhok going to be enough for them? And into the finals, we will be having 2 Sanhoks a day. We'll be going to 6 matches instead of 5, so double Miramar, double Sanhok, and double Erangel. So at least that's a good note for them. If it was only 1 Sanhok a day, I would definitely worry about TJB because they haven't shown the proficiency when it comes to the other maps just of yet. As you look down the list here, you can see top 12 is still going to be important here. Big, have a nice buffer up against Unicorns of Love, and that buffer is important considering at the end of tomorrow, we'll be having a Livic match as well, which does get you points in towards the finals. It does get you points into our rankings, which eventually in turn gets you points into the finals.
I wouldn't put it past Unicorns of Love, though, to be able to make up that difference. They've had some big days, some big games, so definitely not done for the potential Livic match.
Yeah. Well, VIRTUS.PRO is going to be in, right? And they've won both of them so far, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So we already know who's going to win the Livic tomorrow.
And I'll predict
Crabgrass.
Again, VIRTUS.PRO is going to win it 3 times, yeah.
Yeah.
You can see ARB champions up against Death Machine. They're not too far behind. 4-point difference between those 2 teams. But again, there's still a gap when it comes to our overall rankings for them to make it through into the finals. So it's going to be interesting to see if ARB champions and Death Machine do continue to battle out. Remember, we did get to see today that they did separate from each other when it came to Miramar. But we'll be having 2 Miramars tomorrow. So we might have the battle ensue even further. But you're going to have to wait until that all kicks off. Remember, tomorrow, the exact same time, it'll be the final day of our final phase, meaning finals are right around the corner. It's a lot of finals. We'll see you tomorrow for the last day.
have forever. Maybe I could take your pain and turn it into pleasure. Into pleasure. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. As time goes by, my love grows stronger. Can you feel it the same way I do? As time goes by, I can't wait any longer. Just say that you'll be with me too. Just say that you'll be, say that you'll be. I'd be there for you.